5-year stretch in the salary cap era in NFL history that the Chiefs have pulled off. Do they want to go for the best 6-game stretch or 6-season stretch? Do they want to go for the best 7-season stretch? Do they want to go for the best 8-season stretch? Because they can if they want to, because they are continuing to roll. And number 15 is only 27. He's 12 years older than his number, and the Chiefs are going to have another 12 years or so, knock on wood, or more, with Patrick Mahomes. 28 years old, regardless.
Sources say 28.
Sources say 28? Screw the source. I need another source.
He plays like he's 27.
He looked like a 28 is the new 27.
That's what I've been saying.
That's what they say. Everybody knows this. Tom Brady played till he was 45 years old. Patrick Mahomes doesn't look like he's ending anytime soon. He is already. We know it in Kansas City. But last night, seeing the rest of the world say enough with any comparison of any living, currently playing quarterback, whether that be flag football 3-year-old or third graders or junior highs or high school or college or NFL players, anybody currently playing football, not getting ready for a broadcasting career. There is no argument. There is no debate. Shut up. If anybody tries to do it, just simply ignore them because they are banging their head against a wall trying to run this Olympic marathon of pretzeling their mind and this mental gymnastics to try to find any way that they could possibly make a case for their guy. Last night, Bengals fans, the only guy that can get past Mahomes is Tom Brady is Joe Burrow. Well, you know what? When you guys say 3-1, you're talking about beating the Chiefs. When the Chiefs say 3-1, that's the record in the Super Bowl under Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen and the Bills. The Bills dealt with Tom Brady for 20 years. He left, and all they replaced him with is the Grim Reaper, the guy that will tear their heart out in 13 seconds or 13 plays in overtime in the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. Lamar Jackson, cool. He's got 2 regular season MVPs. He's got 2 playoff wins. Mahomes has 3 Super Bowls. He's got more Super Bowls than Lamar Jackson has playoff wins. Bring your tired, your poor, your meek, yearning to be compared to Patrick Mahomes, and we will say no vacancy. Peace out. It's over. It's done. The best, the greatest 5-year stretch of any team in the salary cap history is your Kansas City Chiefs. The best player to put on an NFL uniform in the history of the game is your quarterback, number 15. Is he the most accomplished yet? No. You can argue GOAT, greatest of all time. What does greatest mean? But I'll tell you this, he's the greatest player I've ever seen play in the NFL. And last night, when the Chiefs were trailing by 3 at the end of regulation, when they had under 2 minutes to go and it was a do or die, they had to score. In the Super Bowl, legacy games. My family, my brother, sister-in-law, my son, nieces, nephews, wife, we're all there watching the game. And as he jogs out on the field, we all think the same thing. This is legacy. This is a legacy moment for Patrick Mahomes. Legacy moment. And you know what he did the rest of the game? He took the field on 2 possessions. Both possessions, his team trailing. Both times do or die. If they did not score on both of those possessions, we would be talking about how the Chiefs lost. Instead, all Patrick Mahomes did in a legacy moment, in a can-he-do-it trailing, and he needs a game-winning drive or a game-tying drive. Not only did he do it once, but he did it twice. And all he did was go 13 of 16 for 100 yards, a touchdown, a 114 quarterback rating, 4 rushes, 33 yards. 3 of those 4 rushes went for first downs. Both possessions, his team was trailing, and they had to score with the Super Bowl. It wasn't week 7. It wasn't the wild card round. It was the Super Bowl. Hundreds of millions of people, at least in my mind, are watching that game. And everybody is witnessing greatness in real time. They are witnessing history and historic level of play in real time. And if somebody doesn't appreciate it, that's their fault. That's their own issue, because they'll look back and he will continue to be in 20 and 30 years from now, while Joe Montana for a while and then Tom Brady. But in 20 and 30 years, number 15 for the Chiefs will continue to be the basis of comparison for who the best player we've ever seen. And these are the moments that people will talk about. And the next guy that comes along and they'll say, yeah, Caleb Williams is good. But remember against the 49ers, Mahomes hadn't played his best football in the second half, and he had the interception to come out and start the third quarter. And, boy, that defense was awesome, even though we don't really care about how great defenses were with Tom Brady. The defense was awesome and kept him in the game just long enough. And you know what he did when he had to have it? He had a 114 quarterback rating. He went 13 of 16 for 100 yards and a touchdown. He ran the ball 33 times, including 3 first downs, including one that was a 4th and 1. That's what he did when he had to have it. His leading receivers were Mecole Hardman and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. His center couldn't snap the ball to him throughout the entire game. And still, his team wins. The Chiefs win. The defense was magnificent last night. It looked. There was nip tuck at times. Okay, it was touch and go for a little bit throughout the game, but in the end, Christian McCaffrey averaged 3.6 yards per carry in last night's game against that Chiefs defense that was going to get run all over. 3.6 yards per carry is the lowest of Christian McCaffrey's career with Trent Williams at left tackle. With Trent Williams playing, Christian McCaffrey has never had that few yards per carry. That was against the Chiefs defense that was going to get run all over.
It must have been a great game for Charles Omenihu, Derek Nottie, Brian Cook, some of those thumpers.
It was an amazing game for those guys. Oh. They were dynamite. Nottie was unbelievable. It wasn't Mike Pennell on the practice squad who stepped in and played.
Practice squad starter Mike Pennell.
It wasn't Mike Dana, a good rotational player. It wasn't Leo Chanel. It wasn't FAU busting through and getting a tackle for loss. No, it was the studs that they paid all. Oh, wait, that's right. They did have injuries there. This is, honestly, when they beat the 49ers in Miami, my opening monologue, I was a blubbering fool because I couldn't believe that they won the Super Bowl in my life. And I didn't think I was going to get emotional, but it all hit me because like you doing the post-game show last night, I was up most of the night with doing the post-game stuff there in Miami, and I had like 2 hours of sleep. So I was already emotional, right?
Yes.
Just, I don't know what's going on. I got this imbalance here. I didn't sleep. Whatever it is, I'm on coffee and cocaine. I don't know what's going on here. So I was crying, and then, winning last year was like, yeah, they did it. What a great game. What a great comeback. That is proof that the one wasn't a fluke, and they aren't going to look back and say Aaron Rodgers, that how did this group only get one Super Bowl? That's what last year meant. But for some reason, and because of how I feel today, I do believe, looking back when Travis Kelce had said, I want this one more than any other one. I want this AFC Championship game more than I've ever wanted. I want this Super Bowl more than any others that I've ever wanted. I do believe him because this one, for some reason, seems to be incredibly satisfying, and it's because of what happened this year. I doubted him at times, especially a couple of weeks after the Eagles game. Christmas Day was pretty rough, and my take after Christmas Day was, unfortunately, this is what an average playoff team looks like. Mm-hmm. But never, even when they go 2-3 in the month of December, which is the first Super Bowl champion to ever do that, even when they go 2-3 in the month of December, I will never, ever count this team out if 15 is healthy until January. Until they are dead, okay? Until the zombie is killed, until the silver bullet, until whatever kills the beast, until that happens, I am done counting this team out. Because they simply have the best to ever do it. And Andy Reid, to me, it's about time he starts getting his flowers to be considered the best to ever do it. And when the Chiefs have the better defense, the head coach, and the quarterback, Yeah, that's why I'm picking the Chiefs to win. That's why I picked them. I thought they would win by 13 because of the Taylor Swift thing.
Mm-hmm.
I picked them to win 27-14, to win by 13 points. I thought there would be some 13 that was a tie-in. Turns out there was. It was a 13-play drive in overtime to win the game.
It's beautiful.
So there was a Taylor Swift tie-in there in the game. But it was so incredibly satisfying, last night's game. Because, Josh, I'm assuming you talked about, we were driving back and we were doing a lot of different things at the house, shooting off fireworks, right? But this game, didn't it feel like an entire microcosm of this year?
Yes.
That they got in the red zone, couldn't get it done. That they turned the ball over. That the defense was out there time and time and time again, keeping the offense in it, saying, just get the ball back to 15. Okay, get the ball back to 15 again. Okay, let's go again. Let's get the ball back to – if we can get the ball back to 15, just constantly out there, pushed against the brink, a play or two away from feeling like this thing is blown open. Yet never did they crack, never did they break, and the Chiefs got the ball, and eventually getting it back to 15, they got it back to him enough because they got the job done. Justin Watson had a drop pass, and you're like, oh, my gosh. You had, Travis Kelce on the sideline getting frustrated with Andy Reid on the first possession or the second possession for the Chiefs when they go down and they get inside the red zone, get inside the 10-yard line, goal-to-go situation, and they turn it over. So you saw frustrations boiling over on the sideline. You saw a turnover. You saw drop passes. You saw the offense looking anemic and going 3 and out. You saw Mahomes throw an interception that was like, what is he doing? You saw Mahomes miss a couple of easy throws, and you're like, what's going on? You saw Mahomes leave up a clean pocket early in the first half, and you're going, what is going on? And you saw the defense time and time again. But all season long, we thought that couldn't get it done. And it did. And it did. And I walk away from that game, Josh, and it is, maybe it's the second most satisfying of the three.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the most. I don't know. Because winning one was just so euphoric. And it's like, man, I can't believe my team is on the top of the mountain. But to think that my team just wrapped up the greatest 5-year stretch in the salary cap era. The New England Patriots went to 4 Super Bowls in 5 years and 1 conference championship game. The Kansas City Chiefs have gone to 4 Super Bowls in 5 years and 1 conference championship game. They both won 3 Super Bowls. Here's the difference. The Chiefs have 77 wins. The Patriots had 74. And the Chiefs had a back-to-back. For the first time in 2 decades, the Chiefs completed a back-to-back in that 5 years while doing all of those things. It's the best 5-year stretch. And it was amazing to see them on the mountaintop. It was amazing to get their second one to prove it. And this one feels so sweet because of the ups and downs of the entire season. It's a fantastic night.
As much as it bothers me to admit it, kind of seems like the Chiefs' offense was just a tick off.
Most of the season.
And I mean, even most of the season, most of the game. And first of all, how brilliant is it that we get to sit here on a Monday and talk about which of the Chiefs' Super Bowl wins of the last 5 years make us feel the most joy?
That's stupid.
Because the first one, you're right, the first one I just thought, I'm not sure I would have ever seen this in my lifetime. I could have told my past self I'd never see this day, and it would not have been hard for me to believe. I would have bet my life I wouldn't see 2 of them in a 5-year span. And going back-to-back and 3 and 5 is something I never even would have had the gall to think about, to dream up. And I think the microcosm of this game, reflecting on the entire year, is kind of perfect. It's also sometime around, you can take this with a grain of salt, I suppose, as I continue to think about what I'm about to say here. Somewhere around 3 a.m. last night, this morning, I had a revelation.
At 3 a.m.
Most of my revelations come around 3 a.m. They're very rarely on the radio, stone cold sober. But I've always had a little bit of a hard time putting tangible value into intangibles because they are, by definition, intangible. And it's not like I need a number for everything, but when you talk about somebody being clutch, you see it. You recognize it. But it's hard to understand what goes into that, because if you could just be clutch, every good player would be a great player because they'd be great in the biggest moments. And when people say, oh, the Chiefs just find a way to win, that's also kind of nothing. They find a way to win. So you mean they win a lot? Yeah. But sometimes they find a way to win games they're not supposed to win. What does that mean? And I think I figured it out last night around 3 a.m.
Okay.
Around 6.5 hours ago. When you have Tom Brady's the ultimate finds a way to win, never count out touchdown Tom, right? It became a cliche. But the reason he was the one to get that kind of reputation is because he just kept winning. And he just kept winning on teams that weren't as good as his opponents, or he just kept winning with something miraculous happening in the fourth quarter, or his defense making an incredible stand to give him the football back. Well, Tom Brady didn't play defense. Patrick Mahomes doesn't play defense. So what does it mean they find a way to win in a team sport? And what it means is when it gets dark out, when it gets late, and you have one opportunity to execute and execute and execute and be perfect and perfect and perfect, do you hit that mark? And man, like Brock Purdy played a good game last night. A lot of quarterbacks in the NFL have had good runs.
Yep.
But you have to be perfect when everything is the tightest is such an incredibly difficult threshold to hit that we don't know how to talk about it. That to me, in the shadow of a third Super Bowl, that to me is my new definition of clutch. It isn't just, sorry, this is a weird one, but it's the baseball player of my childhood who I associate clutch with. It's not just Derek Jeter in October getting better all of a sudden. It's that great players who are unflappable in big moments, when they execute what they're supposed to do, and it's nowhere is it more impressive than Brady and Mahomes in my sports watching lifetime. The Chiefs have that guy of this era. We knew Patrick Mahomes was great. I don't know if we learned anything about Patrick Mahomes last night, other than he just keeps doing it, and sometimes, somewhere in there, you get enough reps of seeing it that you have to believe what your eyes are telling you. And what all of our eyes are telling us right now is that Patrick Mahomes might just be the most incredible human being to ever set foot on a football field. And shockingly, incomprehensibly, I saw one of the stats pop up on one of my screens last night. I know I guess we talked about some of the records Mahomes could break with another Super Bowl win. But the one I didn't realize is that now he's third all-time in quarterback playoff wins.
15. Behind
Brady and Montana. We're not projecting there. It's not the thing I've been saying for years, which is if you don't believe, wait, just wait. And he's going to rewrite these record books. But I didn't think he would do it before he turned 30. We're at a point now where, like, a silly Troy Aikman stat from 5 years ago is no longer relevant. It has been a Troy Aikman stat has lost its relevance in every way, shape, and form because he has just proven at age 28, I am better than this incredibly iconic Hall of Fame quarterback who was in many ways the quarterback of a generation. Mahomes is better than him and more accomplished than him. Being more accomplished than everybody other than Brady and Montana before he turned 30, that's something I didn't even expect after the first Super Bowl. Because imagine, because it's Brady and Montana. What do you mean it's Brady, Montana, 28-year-old Patrick Mahomes? But that's the reality of this team. It's what clutch means. It is execution late in games. It is the same motion turning into Super Bowl touchdowns for Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and McCole Hardman. That's a coach, that's a quarterback, that's an offense that I guess really was just off a tick. It is unfreaking believable.
He is 3 for 3 with fourth quarter comebacks in the Super Bowl. Is Patrick Mahomes. His 3 wins.
Right.
Get technically 3 for 4.
Couldn't quite mount the comeback there with me playing offensive line.
It's a rough one.
Yeah.
But in his 3 wins, all 3 have had a fourth quarter comeback and an overtime comeback, which typically overtime comeback, a new thing you can say. We are hanging out at Rally House, the Oak Park location, Quivira in Lenexa, Chiefs Kingdom. You stop by here. This your local Rally House. We'll be here till 2 o'clock, but whatever your local Rally House is, you are getting geared up for the parade coming up on Wednesday. Lovers out there, we will love ourselves some Chiefs on Valentine's Day as they will be going right down Grand and having yet another parade. You know the route. You know where you're probably parking. You know where your typical parade seat is for you and your family. For now, the fourth one in a decade to enjoy a parade for a championship team here in Kansas City. But Rally House is where you want to get geared up from the Super Bowl gear. Super Bowl 58 champions, back-to-back, ran it back, whatever you want to call it. RallyHouse.com, our location here. Inlet X off Quivira, Oak Park area. It is Rally House. We're here till 2 o'clock, but all of the different Rally Houses you can go to, they are getting shipments continually throughout the day of Chiefs gear in. And they'll continue to do that. This is where you're going to get geared up to rock that red coming up on Wednesday and throughout the offseason and on to the next year, as Travis Kelce said, as they go for 3 in a row. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We think we'll hear from Andy Reid in Las Vegas as the Super Bowl champion coach talks on a Monday morning. This is now back-to-back years of Monday morning. We're hearing from Andy Reid. More Zone next. 48. The only loss was the Bucs, in which they trailed most of that game. And again, Josh and I were playing offensive line that day.
We could have been better. That is on me.
We could have been worse, though.
I could have done my 111.
I do believe we could have been worse that day, too.
We can fling around Mahomes stats for the rest of the time.
We really could. I could sit here. We could honestly sit here for the next 3.5 hours and just say Mahomes.
We probably should.
Over and over again, and people would still tune in and go, greatest show I've ever heard, guys.
Mahomes,
you guys
Mahomes,
killed it.
Mahomes, Field Yates,
Mahomes.
Mahomes.
We'll be Groot. We'll be the Mahomes. Groot.
I think that we could do 4 hours with that.
Mahomes.
I think people would deal with it for at least one. Maybe we'll have a short segment at some point today. We just commit to that and see if we can carry on a full conversation.
Mahomes.
I think we have the range.
Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes has as many Super Bowl wins as he has playoff losses. Like, what are we doing?
He's 15-3.
That's nuts. He's 15-3 and has 3 Super Bowl championships. His playoffs end with a Super Bowl as often as they end in a loss. What are we doing?
Last night in the game, Patrick Mahomes targeting Mecole Hardman, MVS, and Justin Watson. You see this stat?
No.
Targeting Mecole Hardman, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Justin Watson last night. Patrick Mahomes was 9 of 13, 131 yards and 2 touchdowns for a 141 quarterback rating when targeting Mecole Hardman, MVS, and Justin Watson.
Why wouldn't he be?
Brock Purdy, when targeting Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle, was 8 of 20 for 86 yards and a 53 quarterback rating. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
I don't know if that's a Chiefs offense stat or a Chiefs defense stat.
Yes.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes.
That is a Spags and Mahomes stat. That's what that is. That's a Mahomes and Steve Spagnuolo stat. MVS, Mecole Hardman, and Justin Watson. Patrick Mahomes had 131 yards and 2 touchdowns and a 141 quarterback rating. Brock Purdy to Deebo, Ayuk, and Kittle was 8 of 20 for 86 yards and a 53 quarterback rating last night.
It's absolutely unfathomable.
And by the way, as we get ready to hear from Andy Reid, how sweet was it in overtime on a 4th and 1 that the Kansas City Chiefs and my childhood, the Kansas City Chiefs ran a play-action boot against a Shanahan.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
A 4th and 1 play-action boot the other way while Shanahan was on the other sideline. The 10-year-old to 20-year-old Jason was going crazy and putting double birds at the TV to anybody named Shanahan, whether that's Mike, Kyle, or a Jeff Shanahan. If your last name is Shanahan and you're in the Kansas City area, I apologize because the double birds were pointed at you too.
It was for you. You caught a straight happen.
It was a total stray. Total stray. I apologize about that. That is my fault. Is Roger Goodell heading to the podium to introduce Andy Reid, or is Roger Goodell heading to the podium just to talk? Okay. Here is let's go ahead and take Roger Goodell.
Hear Raj.
He wrote the script, and it resulted in the Chiefs winning. So let's hear one of the greatest script writers in Hollywood history, Roger Goodell.
On all levels, not just the football field, but off the field too. His leadership shows in everything he does. Also at the league level, where I tend to rely on a great deal to get a perspective from a team standpoint. But there's no one better coaching in football right now than Coach Reid. So, Coach Reid, come on up.
All right, it's an honor to stand before you. I bring the team with me. We appreciate all the support from Las Vegas. This is a new experience for them, and the hospitality was absolutely phenomenal. The Raider organization for allowing us to practice in their facility and being one of our rivals, but they did that with class. Their equipment guys and field crew were just absolutely first class. And then for our organization and all the great work that they did at the beginning to set everything up for us. Was unbelievable. The hotel that we stayed at, the people there were great. So all in all, a good trip. All of those things were positive, whether we won or lost. And then, excuse me, but we were able to pull one out. That game could have gone either way. I think we all know that. Kyle and the 49ers, John, all those guys are class act, and they've done a heck of a job there. So we felt like it was the two best teams in football playing each other, strong in our own rights in certain spots, and it was a good clash and presented the world really a heck of a football game, and they got an extra quarter of it, which is even a more beautiful thing. So with that, if you have questions.
Hey, good morning, Andy, and congratulations.
Thank you.
A couple of things for you. First off, I think I understood you to say after the game last night you're coming back for another season. Is that right?
Yep.
All right.
To hang with you.
We are. Good reason then.
That's it.
Why not ride off into the sunset at this point for you?
You know, Adam, I honestly haven't even thought about it, but I get asked it. I mean, I'm still kind of in awe of the game and what went on there. So I really haven't thought why or what or anything else, but people keep asking me. And I keep saying, why did Belichick and Pete retire? You know, those guys, they ask those old guys a question, but I'm the old guy now. So I guess I'm going to be asked that. But I really haven't gone there. I haven't really thought about it.
What does your team's place in history at this point mean to you?
Yeah, well, listen, it's history. How you write it will be how you write it, and whether it's a dynasty, we don't determine if it's a dynasty. You guys do. So, but I would tell you that it's as fine a group as I've been around, and I've been very fortunate. I've been around some great organizations and good teams, and this group here and organization are tremendous. And if somebody said dynasty and tagged it onto it, I'd be very proud of that.
Andy, first time for the new overtime rules in a postseason game. Can you share with us what you would have done if you had won the toss?
Yeah, so that can go either way. So we would have kicked the ball off. The officials actually are on top of it right away. They're on it. There were still a couple seconds on the clock, and we have the extra officials on the sideline, and they were asking me what we would do, and I said we would kick off. Made sure Patrick was on board with it. He was the one who had to go out and do that with the officials. So, and then Dave Tobe making sure that he was there. But that we had already gone through all of that. The advantage of having Mike Frazier is he, like I'm sure their guy does all these studies, and we had it all mapped out. And we were able to cover it with the guys, and so everybody knew. Now, when it happened, with that amount of time on the clock, I think we were all like, "Whoa," you know. So I know what McCole said there. We just had this hard-fought fight, and all of a sudden, it's a walk-off. You know, it's a weird feeling that way.
Andy,
yes,
good morning. For the third consecutive Chiefs Super Bowl, you guys overcame a 10-point deficit. How does that compound and help build the belief?
Yeah, Sam. It's like that last climb to the observatory, Sam. You know, the last 100 yards, man. The guys never doubt. They see it. They know what they have to do, and they never doubt themselves. It helps that this guy over here is on our team, and he set such a positive attitude for everybody. And between Patrick, Kelsey, Chris Jones, I mean, I could name a bunch of them. There's never any finger pointing. There's never any doubt. And we went in at halftime down by 7, and the guys go, "We're right there," you know. And we just need to take care of business. we shot ourselves in the foot a little bit in the first half offensively, but the defense kept us going. That's kind of how the season was. It was a little bit of a microcosm of the season and how it's gone. But the guys, they hung together, and special teams had a couple nice plays, big plays, and then the offense got moving, and the defense kept pounding them. And it worked out okay.
All right, we're going to go three more. We'll start right here.
Andy, Jason Leisure with the Chicago Sun-Times. You mentioned Patrick Mahomes, the advantage of having him. How much margin does he give you in the sense that you don't need everything to be perfect for you guys to have a chance?
Yeah, well, I tell everybody it's all perfect, exactly how we called it. He makes it look easy. I would tell you that. And this is a fluid game with the best athletes in this sport in the world, and you narrowed it down to the top two teams in the world. And he's out there playing like he's playing in the backyard, like it's nothing. And the fourth down play was a naked throw, and he said, I want that play, and if it's not there for the throw, I'm running it. And so from a head coaching standpoint, a guy that works with offensive guys, all you can ask for. Yeah.
Back there.
Yeah, Andy, I'm hoping to follow up on Blair's question. Could you, I guess, share a little bit of the analysis that led you to the choice of the fact that you were kicked off, and now that you've seen the overtime play out, the new rules that change your thinking at all, and if it comes up again?
No. So there are a couple things in there that we do. I mentioned Mike Frazier, our analytics chief there. He does all the work on it, and so like I said, it can go either way. But the one thing it does, it gives you an opportunity to see what you've got to do. And they came down and scored 3 points. You've either got to score 3 or you got to get a touchdown. The one thing that people didn't realize is that clock keeps going. So we were down low there, but you're fixing to start a new quarter. So the game wasn't over in a tie. That wasn't happening, not in the playoffs. And so we would keep playing, and it's a unique rule. It doesn't get used very often, but I think it was great for the National Football League. It was great for the viewers of the National Football League. They got an extra quarter of football, and people love this thing. It's a great sport, and people love watching. So, especially with the competition level so high.
Last question right here.
Congratulations, Andy.
Thank you.
You've done something that a number of teams have done before, winning 2 in a row. The Packers did it early on, the Patriots most recently. You're being called a dynasty. What does it mean to you to maybe try to do something no team has ever done and win 3 in a row?
Yeah, that'd be something. I don't know. Yeah, I just asked that to this guy right here, Ted. I said, has anybody won it 3 times? And he goes, no. I said, all right. We'll see. I mean, we've got great competition in the AFC West. We just had some coaching hirings, and these guys are good football coaches with good quarterbacks, good teams, and so it's not going to just be easy. That's not how this thing rolls. We'll have changeover on our team, which every team has, so you don't know what's there. There's a whole lot of unexpected, and you got to keep battling through it, have a good off season, and then good training camp, and then that ball's shaped kind of funny, so it's got to bounce for you in the right direction. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I don't think a lot about that, but that would, I think that would be pretty neat, neat thing to do. But you don't really go there when you're in this thing. You go back to your dark room and the film and the draft coming up and the combine, all those things. That's kind of where you go. And you're not talking three-peat. Well, I mean, some guys do, but it'd be great.
All right, thank you.
All right, there's Andy Reid. They're in Vegas as they win the Super Bowl, and today the Super Bowl winning press conference we'll hear from, I believe Patrick Mahomes will be at the podium here very soon. The Super Bowl MVP, Roger Goodell, is heading back up to the podium, I believe, to then introduce Patrick Mahomes. And here's Patrick Mahomes.
4 Super Bowl appearances, 3 Super Bowl victories, and 3 MVPs. That's an incredible performance, incredible leader, and makes the future bright for everyone in the National Football League. So with no further ado, Patrick Mahomes, MVP.
We'll start with Matt Derrick here in the middle. Right here. Nope. We're about to walk by. There you go.
Patrick, when you and some of the other guys, Travis, Chris, showed up yesterday, you were all wearing black. Was that a acknowledgement of kind of accepting the villain role, and was that something that you individually decided or collectively decided?
I wish we would have decided that together. I think it just kind of happened that way. We're in Vegas, you have to own your best attire, and having those blacks, and I wish I would have been up there with Trav, because Trav, I feel like, took it all the way over the top, but it was cool to see that we kind of had that unity coming in.
Go ahead, Adam.
All right. Hey, Patrick, congratulations on last night. You talked a little bit about after the game about getting ready for next year and trying to do it again. What would 3 straight mean to you? And I'll have another question, Ted.
Yeah, no, it's legendary. I mean, just to be able to, no one's ever done it. And we knew it's legendary to win back-to-back. I think 8 other teams had done it. We had heard it all week. We had talked to the guys about it, and we felt like we had the best opportunity that we had ever had to go out there and do that. And I'd fell short the year before. And so, I mean, all you can do is come back next year with a fresh mindset, knowing it's going to be even harder. We got to continue to play our best football. We'll celebrate these next few weeks, and then we'll get right back at it.
What does your team's place in history mean to you?
Yeah, it means a ton. Not only for me, but I think I know how hard these guys work. I know how hard these guys get after it. I know how hard the coaches work. I believe we're the hardest working team in the NFL. And for us, all that hard work to pay off, that's something that we always preach, is we believe we work for those moments, for those end-of-game moments, and we prepare ourselves for those. And to be able to have our stamp on this great NFL history is something that I'll never take for granted, and hopefully we can continue to let that thing go.
Morning, Patrick. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On the big win. So your playing style is often described as innovative and unpredictable. So if you had to compare it to an approach, a non-football activity, what would that be and why?
Man, that's a great question. I would say something like a top-tier lawyer. I think that'd be the first thing that comes to my head. Someone that has to think on his feet, execute at the right time, and deal with high-pressure situations.
Good morning. Congratulations to you on another amazing performance during the Super Bowl. The question for you is, take us to that halftime. You guys walk into the locker room, you're down 10-3. What's the overall message that you had to the team as well as Coach Reid during that moment?
Yeah, I think it was really cool. I mean, honestly, it was just be us. Nothing more, nothing less. Offensively, we knew we weren't playing our best football, but we felt like we weren't executing at a high level. Obviously, the 49ers have a great defense, and you don't execute, they're going to make stops. And we felt like everybody was playing hard. We just got to pick up our execution and continue to get better. And defense had kept us in the game. And so for us, we just said be us. Let's be us out there. If we're going to go down, let's have fun. Let's enjoy it and give everything we have, and we'll live with the results after.
Patrick, center aisle. How have you embraced the second phase of your career where you're off the rookie contract and it's going to be harder to get the pieces in place around you and you're not the upstart anymore? Now everybody's been coming for you.
Honestly, I think it's a tribute to the Coach Reed and Brett Veach and continue to bring great players in. I mean, if you look at our defense and how young they are, they're drafting great. They're finding these guys that they can bring in to play and develop, and our coaching staff is developing players. I mean, I always think to our DBs, I mean, we got like 5 or 6 guys that are in year 1, year 2, and then you have Snead. I mean, guys that continue to get better and better. And all you can do is just go to work every single day and try to bring guys along. I thought Rasheed Rice did a great job this year, just continue to get better and better. And that's what great football teams need is guys that just keep coming into the culture that we have built here and continue to get better every single week. And I'll try to keep as much flexibility as I possibly can as far as the cap and stuff like that. But it's a credit to all the people I have around me.
Hey, Patrick, congratulations. What tangible lessons do you think you might have learned from this season, what was a challenging season, a challenging postseason, as you go into next year and try to do something that nobody's ever done and win that 3rd in a row?
I mean, I think always the challenge whenever you win, and what I've learned is how can you get better? How can you continue to get better? 'Cause that's what it takes. In this league, everybody gets better every single year. And so whenever you win a championship, you celebrate and you're like, let's just go do it again. And I think that was something that I learned from the first one that we lost when we tried to get the back-to-back is everybody was like, we're just going to run it back and do it again. This is what we're going to do. And I feel like we fell short that way. And so now let's get better. Let's find a way, whatever that small thing is, to get better at every single person individually and then as a team. And let's just come with our best football and our best effort. And hopefully that's coming back and we're able to be, I think it's in New Orleans and on this podium again.
Patrick, congratulations. 2 quick questions. We saw you hit the ground last night after the game, after that touchdown happened. You just were on the ground with your hands on your head. What were the emotions you were feeling in that moment? Was it just relief? What were you feeling? And last night on the podium, you said Kansas City should never be an underdog. Chiefs should never be an underdog. Right now, already, day after the Super Bowl, they are not the favorites for next year. What are you telling people to bet on for the Chiefs for next year?
That first part, I think it was just all the emotions. I mean, to win a football game like that and obviously to win the Super Bowl like that is something you dream of as a little kid. And so I was celebrating with my team. I started running. I didn't know where I was going. And finally just fell down. Hopefully someone found my helmet. But it was a lot of emotions and just gratitude, man. So thankful just to be able to be in that moment and enjoy that with my teammates. And then as far as the underdog thing, man, I mean, it just gives you a little added motivation going into the offseason. So like I said, I never feel like we're underdogs. I believe we can win any game that we play in. But we have to continue to prove that every single year.
We'll go right here.
Patrick, Dave Stevens with the Disability Channel. Most valuable bungler and MVP in 1 year. It's got to be great. But you guys had some burps during the season, and I'm wondering if that's when you really had to become a leader in this team and what you did during those ups and downs to bring this team back together to have the success last night.
Yeah, I want to take the credit, but honestly, it was everybody. I knew it was going to turn around by the way the guys worked. I mean, whenever stuff got tough, especially in that like receiving room and offensive line or with me, everybody came to work that next day and let's get that extra work in. Let's do those extra things. And when you see that, you know it's going to turn around. And our defense kept us in it all year long. And I knew our offense was going to turn because of how hard guys were working every single day. And when you work that hard, usually good things happen. And so it just happened to happen right at the perfect time. And we got that momentum going into the playoffs and obviously got to win the Super Bowl.
Last question.
Mike Brodsky, Florida National News. Patrick, there were a lot of Hall of Famers, MVPs, football royalty coming through Vegas this past week. Were there any words of wisdom that any of them shared that stand out in your mind as being most memorable or helpful?
Yeah, I think I always take so much from when Mike Vick talks to us, man. I mean, I built a great relationship with him whenever he came in. It was kind of that assistant spot in training camp and in the QB room every single day. And I remember the first thing he told me, it was like, hey, you're going to be special. But look at that big man right there. He's going to take you to another level. And I remember coming from him and someone that I'd watched my entire life, I was like, man, I mean, if he's saying it, I know he's saying the right things. And so I took that and ran with it. And going into this week, I think he said, be champions, man. He said, go out there, show everybody who y'all are. I always take so much from what he says, man. And he's like the coolest dude in the world, man. So it's always great when he's able to talk to the team.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there is the Super Bowl MVP, three-time Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes. Monday after the Super Bowl, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes talking for the second time in 2 years. The Monday after a Super Bowl, winning Super Bowl 58, third time in 5 years, and back-to-back champions. And boy, three different questions to Andy Reid and three different questions to Patrick Mahomes about three-peat. I mean, already going for three. And you know what? Travis Kelce talked about it last night. The Chiefs talked about it. They're not afraid to approach or to look at it. They talked about all year in the postseason about winning back-to-back. They talked about the last 2 weeks about what it would mean to win back-to-back. They have no fear of putting it out there and feeling like they're burning bread. They're putting it out there because they know what it means to them and what it would mean in history. And as Patrick Mahomes said a couple of times last night, and then the first three straight Super Bowls question here, second question of the press conference, that he said it'd be legendary. Nobody's ever done it. Only 8 teams have ever gone back-to-back. Now one of them. The three straights never happened. Legendary. Yeah, he is. He is legendary. He'll continue to be with the Kansas City Chiefs. And yes, this offseason will be about, can they go for 3 straight? at Rally House. I don't know, you can go back to Super Bowl 54 gear, Super Bowl 57, Super Bowl 58, getting you set for that parade coming up a couple of days from now, which right about now might be getting started on Wednesday, on Valentine's Day. So we will all be out there. You know what? It's a day to wear red. Valentine's Day, everybody wears red anyway, and we're going to be out there, lovers alike. Everybody's just going to be collectively loving up the Chiefs on Valentine's Day, and we love Rally House because they are getting you set. They continue to get truckloads and shipments throughout the day at all 16 Rally House locations. So keep checking. If there's something specific you want, you show up, you're like, oh, it may not be in my size. It may be there in an hour as well. So check that out, 16 different locations around the KC Metro. Rally House gear up to make KC red and gold for the parade. Went to a Rally House in Louisville over Christmas that I was buying my son some gear. I was going to look for one of my buddies to get him some UK gear for Christmas, and then my son, I always try to find like a UK basketball shirt while I'm there. Hard to find them here.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed walking around that Rally House in my Chiefs gear.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize I was wearing a Chiefs pullover.
Yeah.
Like a little quarter zip. I didn't realize it when I decided I was going to stop by. It was an impromptu thing. So I stopped by there, and just walking through the Bengals stuff.
Oh.
Wearing the Chiefs gear.
Must have felt like you were wearing a suit of armor.
With people shopping for Chiefs stuff or for Bengals stuff, it had a special feeling. Had
Hey,
a really
guys,
special feeling.
You could wait like a month, and I think some of that will be about 25% off. Something to let you know.
That's right. But Rally House, our location today. It's so cool going to Louisville and looking at a Rally House because that's where I shop. If I need gear for my son or friends, I'm like, oh, let me head there. But 16 KC Metro locations, Rally House getting you set for the parade coming up on Wednesday. Johnny's Tavern helping you out with 25% off. Thank you, Overtime. Got you 6% off. 25% off Johnny's Tavern, Metro's premier sports bar, discounting the 18-inch New York-style specialty pizza for every KC game. Discount is now 25%. It's based on what the Chiefs score. And, again, dine-in only, 25% off on an 18-inch New York-style specialty pizza. Today only, dine-in only at Johnny's Tavern, Johnny'sTavern.com. You can go and check that out. 913-912-4810. I'll tell you this. A lot of text coming in. It is hard to get to the text today, so I will just go ahead and let people know that. We are going to take calls tomorrow because of the press conference with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and we got Field Yates coming up at noon and catching up on breaks and things like that and other things that we want to play and get to. So we are going to open up the phone lines tomorrow for people to call in and celebrate and give your thoughts on the dynasty, the championship. I know maybe it might not be as raw tomorrow of those emotions and euphoria and maybe lack of sleep. But we'll do that tomorrow because we're going to talk with Adam Teicher on Thursday. The plan was that with no parade, we'd be talking with Adam Teicher on Wednesday. And I believe Adam Teicher said, I can't go on Tuesday, and if there's a parade on Wednesday, we probably won't be able to do that. So I'll talk to you Thursday. Was that what Adam Teicher said?
I'm gonna quote him directly.
Please,
because
he called the shot when we were scheduling because Teicher's traveling tomorrow.
Yes.
And then Wednesday, no way we'd be able to work with getting down there to the parade and him trying to work around his schedule, when the actual parade will start, when we'd have them on, when they might be coming through. Too much stuff going on. So we're like, look, Wednesday's out.
His exact phrasing here, after I was we're going back and forth. All right, so Wednesday at noon if they lose, Thursday at noon if they win. He said, that works. Talk to you Thursday, I think, or Wednesday, very possible. But he was planning. He was always planning on talking to us on
like
Thursday.
to end it when he said, talk to you Thursday.
I do, too.
That's when I stopped reading.
Listen, he's a respectable journalist,
He
and
is.
I figured the least I could do is give the full exact quotes of our private texts.
The least you can do.
It's the least I could do.
Give the full quote of the private text.
I think he picked the Chiefs on the record on Tuesday,
That's
so
right.
I think all I have done is tell you that he did think the Chiefs would win the game. It wasn't exactly, I'll streak down grand if there's not a parade there on Wednesday.
I want to hear this clip from McCole Hardman and Patrick Mahomes on the final play. This was the NFL Network set. So most people may have seen this by now, but what was being shown over and over again last night after that happened was Mahomes interrupting and telling the story of McCole Hardman, not knowing that was the end of the game. But there was more to it that was on the NFL Network set they didn't typically play. So I want to play this clip. Patrick Mahomes interrupts McCole Hardman at the set with NFL Network, and they talk about that play, and we find out the name of the play. And so here's McCole Hardman on the set of NFL Network, and then Patrick Mahomes coming on and interrupting and having some fun with McCole.
The game-winning play call. Did you light up, bro? I mean, did you smile? Did you like, come on, man, this is about to be that moment?
Man, Tom and Jerry Wright. Y'all mark it down. It's Tom and Jerry Wright. It's a play we've been working for a long time now, man. And the safety the corner just fell off on Trav. And I'm like, I got to be open, you know? I caught the ball, and I blacked out, man. I forgot that we actually won the game for a second.
Nicole and Chris, congratulations on those rings. Oh, you got a buddy that's attacking the set here. Patrick Mahomes.
Can I tell a quick funny story?
Please.
I threw a touchdown to this dude at the end of the game. And he looked at me, and he had no idea. I said, dude, we just won the Super Bowl. And he said he blacked out. He had no idea. I was like, bro, because he didn't even celebrate at the beginning. I'm like, what are we doing?
When I see you retorting, I'm like, okay, it's time to celebrate now. So, hey.
You seriously did not know the game was...
I blacked out. I literally blacked out. I swear to God, I blacked out.
Okay.
But I'm glad this man was running towards me, though, and get me back to life. Look.
I got you.
I didn't know. I'm like, oh. That's crazy.
So, once again, what's the name of this play?
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry is the name of the play. We can guess who's who. But the same motion, though. The same motion as we scored Corn Dog, and we scored a couple plays last year, so we saved it for the right moment.
So now when he says so it's Tom and Jerry Wright was the game-winning play. There was Corn Dog motion, but the name of the play was Tom and Jerry Wright. So the 3 Super Bowl championships, we have Jet Chip Wasp, Corn Dog, and Tom and Jerry Wright. Amazing, by the way. But when he says Tom and Jerry Wright, you can guess who is who. Is he talking about Tom and Jerry, Mahomes and McCole? Is he talking about Tom and Jerry, Travis and McCole? Or is he talking about Tom and Jerry, the defense, and then the offensive player? My guess when I first heard it was Mahomes saying, you can guess who's who, as in like, I'm Jerry. I'm the clever, cunning one that Tom can never get. Or the offense is Jerry, and the defense is Tom that can never capture Jerry.
I thought this last night, and then I forgot to actually double check and make sure that I wasn't just imagining this. Was there not a conversation about a Tom and Jerry play last year?
Ooh, I don't know.
I
don't remember one.
I have in my head there being something with Travis Kelce and Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Okay.
And them having some sort of Tom and Jerry thing where it's little guy behind the big guy. And maybe it was just that they talked about it and never actually got to run it or something. I'm not sure. But that phrase sounded familiar to me. Oh, okay, hold on. I found it from our friends at KSHB 41.
That was quick.
October 3rd, 2021. Travis Kelce's Tom and Jerry play acting helped Chiefs pummel Eagles. So that was what they called it when he went out and fully decoyed, he didn't know what was going on.
Did he do a cartwheel?
I don't know if it was a cartwheel or not. But goal line hijinks here. I think it was a Clyde touchdown. So Kelce motions in here. This is against the Eagles in the regular season. This is when he goes out
actually ended
that
up
way.
Being an underhand shovel pass
to Clyde there.
But that wasn't a corn dog motion. So it was Tom and Jerry Wright with corn dog motion. That looked like a completely different play.
This does look like a completely different thing. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have
being like a middle screen.
I'm gonna have to double check the. So
That's
it was
interesting.
So the play is called Tom and Jerry.
The brainchild of Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce. Some of the guys go off on the side. We end up making it happen, playing the Tom and Jerry role. Clyde said, "Obviously, I'm Jerry, and Trav was Tom on the play, so you all can kind of figure it out from that point." So the phrasing was used. I don't know that anything else in the play actually seems similar, having now rewatched the play in question.
Boy, the fact that you remembered there being something about Tom and Jerry from 2021, well done, sir.
All I remember is the funny names the Chiefs give their plays. I'm still mad about the gotta catch them all not actually turning into a touchdown.
I'm going to go with the defense is Tom and the Chiefs' offense is Jerry.
That makes sense.
Because Jerry is the cunning, clever, never getting caught by Tom that thinks – I mean, Tom is –
Nick Bosa is Tom.
Oh, 100%. Nick Bosa is Tom just crashing down from the edge on whatever play action and action that the Chiefs are showing there be a handoff to the running back and not getting outside when Mahomes on those play actions then rolling, because it happened twice with Mahomes picking up first downs on runs when it was the play action, one to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then one to Isaiah Pacheco on 4th and 1 when Mahomes keeps it himself and picks up the first down, a little pump fake to Travis Kelce, or I guess that was earlier, the pump fake to Noah Gray.
Yeah.
And then Travis Kelce there in overtime on 4th down. The overtime on 4th down is really interesting because if the Chiefs got the ball first,
I don't know,
and they were sitting at 4th and 1 in that situation, do they go for it?
I don't know.
Or does Andy Reid punt it away and know that a field goal wins the game?
Jason, I'm so bleeping glad I don't have to think about that.
I'm glad I don't either.
Like, I am getting stressed out thinking about it. I hate how close we got to having 4th down discourse, 2-point conversion discourse. I'm going to whisper here. We haven't talked about the refs at all, and it's okay. No one.
What?
They weren't an issue, which is cool. Shout out to Bill Vinovich.
We don't have to talk about officials after a Chiefs Super Bowl?
I mean, when it's flatly fixed, the refs don't have to work as hard.
Okay.
But I am so glad that I don't need to know the answer to your question because I did think about it many times.
The fact that – now, we joked that McCole Hardman blacked out and didn't remember that they won the game, and then the Chiefs – by the way, the Chiefs sideline knew that because when McCole Hardman caught the ball, the Chiefs sideline flooded in because you can see it when they show the view from behind, from the end zone, the end zone of where they caught the touchdown, not behind Patrick Mahomes, but the view behind the defense. When McCole Hardman catches the ball and it shows that view, the 49ers sideline is still, and you can understand why, but the Chiefs sideline is flooding onto the field.
It looks like Chris Jones just made $1 million.
Yes. It almost looks like that. I'm not sure. I don't know what $1 million run looks like.
Second most excited the sidelines looked all year.
But how about this little nugget from the Ringer?
Yeah.
The Chiefs' overtime plan worked out exactly how they hoped, and it wasn't by accident. Kansas City safety Justin Reed told the Ringer the Chiefs had first discussed the new overtime rules as far back as training camp. Defensive lineman Chris Jones told me players were prepared for what to expect if the Super Bowl went to overtime. We talked through this for 2 weeks, Jones said. How we were going to give the ball to the opponent. If they scored, we were going to go for 2 at the end of the game. We rehearsed it. The 49ers did not do the same. Multiple San Francisco 49er players said after the game that they were not aware that the overtime rules are different in the playoffs than they are in the regular season. And strategy discussions over how to handle the overtime period did not occur as a team. Defensive lineman Eric Armstead said he learned the details of the postseason rule when it was shown on the Allegiant Stadium Jumbotron during a TV timeout after regulation. Fullback Kyle Juszczyk said he assumed the 49ers asked to receive when they won the toss because that's what you do in the regular season when a touchdown wins the game. I guess that's not the case. I don't really know the strategy, end quote, Kyle Juszczyk. Chris Jones knew that if they won the toss, the defense was going to have to be out there first because the Chiefs were going to kick. And the Chiefs have already discussed, and Chris Jones knew, that if the defense gave up a touchdown, the Chiefs would then score a touchdown and go for 2. That was discussed in training camp. In training camp. Eric Armstead learned the rules in real time at the end of regulation. 8 months later, Eric Armstead learned the rules of overtime in the playoffs 8 months after the Chiefs talked about it as a team. Kyle Juszczyk learned it after the game. I assumed we took the ball because that's what you do in the regular season. Now, there can be debates on, do you want the ball first, do you want the ball second? I actually can see both sides on this.
Yeah, there's an argument.
Yeah, there's absolutely an argument. I would rather have it to where if I have Patrick Mahomes, I want the ball second because I want to know if I need to go for it on 4th down. So the fact that the Chiefs got the ball second, they gave up the field goal, and on 4th and 1 at their own, 34-yard line, they go for it. 4th and 1 on their own 34-yard line if they got the ball first. I don't know what Andy Reid does. I would pray and hope he would go for it still, but you knew you had to, and the game was on the line, and you force a guy like Patrick Mahomes to know he has 4 downs. You know what that also does? It also helps you when you've got a player in MVS who catches a 6-yard pass but runs 10 yards backwards for some reason, does his best to Marcus Robinson, and it sets up 2nd and 13. Now, 2nd and 13, if you've got the ball first, is different than 2nd and 13 when you've got the ball second, because you have 3 downs to pick up 13. So you know what they did on 2nd and 13? A quick little throw to MVS, who caught the ball, got up the field, picked up 8 yards, or 7 yards, because it was 3rd and 6. And you know what they did on 3rd and 6? They took the all-out blitz from the 49ers, and Mahomes waited and gained depth and waited and lobbed it to a busting wide-open Rashee Rice for the first down. That was short of the first down marker. They were 2nd and 13, and the next 2 throws were short of the first down marker. Do they do that if they got the ball first? I don't know. But that's why if you have Patrick Mahomes, I want the ball second. Because if I'm facing 2nd and long, 2nd and 13 or 14, I've got 3 downs to pick it up. They didn't need 3 downs to pick it up. And you know a touchdown wins the game. If you got the ball first, a touchdown doesn't win the game. A touchdown puts you in position. Now, the strategy that Kyle Shanahan was talking about was, well, if each team matched the score, it was sudden death, and then we got the ball. So then it becomes sudden death, and we got the ball. But both teams have to match the exact score for you to have that specific advantage in the game. You have to score a touchdown, they score a touchdown, and don't go for 2. You have to kick a field goal, and they kick a field goal. You have to either not score and they don't score to get the ball back in a sudden death. That's a lot that has to happen for you to have the advantage. And when number 15's over there, I don't want him holding the big trump card in spades and having the chalk last at the chalkboard, like Spags likes to say, and say, this is what I need. Cool, this is what I'll get.
Because then you can use all of the resources at your disposal. Like you said, maybe it's a short pass in a 2nd and long situation. And, again, when Shanahan is saying that idea that you want to have the ball in a potential sudden death possession, but if you need a touchdown, score a touchdown as the second team with the ball, you elect to go for 2 there, you guarantee that's the last possession. That's all the receiving the ball first actually guarantees you. It's if I score a touchdown and we kick a field goal, I give the ball back to you, and you have to score a touchdown and get a 2-point conversion, and then you win. Or you can tie it and give it back to us in a sudden death circumstance, which, again, the Chiefs already had the plan for. No, we would have gone for 2 there, assuring that there was no advantage to be gained by the Niners. So all of that, to me, emphasizes that the Chiefs were on the right side of that strategy, despite the fact there were some people, as soon as that rule came out, it might have been a Seth Walder thing or something like that. One of the kind of analytics guys did like a poll of analytics members in NFL front offices, and it was very, very balanced. It was very close between ball first, ball second, or depends on circumstances, whether your quarterback, stuff like that. But I am very glad, and I think it's no accident, that the Chiefs had a plan and the Niners were surprised by the rules. Like I said in the first hour, like some of the stuff about finding ways to win and having clutch DNA and all of that stuff that is very oftentimes just kind of filling the inexplicable when it's really hard to explain what makes a team special. In this instance, we've got a lot of good examples. The Chiefs worked on this bleep in training camp, and the Niners were surprised when it showed up on the Jumbotron.
It's unbelievable. And it's just like little details like that continue to impress you more and more about Andy Reid and why they are in the position they are and why he had knocked on the door so many times and hadn't busted through. And it was viewed as this guy can't win the big game. Did he figure out how to win the big game, or did he have a generational quarterback now that he was in tandem with, instead of pulling Donovan McNabb up to, the surface and pulling Alex Smith up to the surface? He's surfing with Patrick Mahomes. Terrible analogy, I know. It's the first thing that I thought of for whatever reason. But now you have a generational quarterback, and you're winning these games. That attention to detail isn't new. There's no way that can be new. Now, it might have been learned over the years of certain things, because that attention to detail can come when you've got so many other things that are sort of just plug and place, sort of just this is what we do, this is what we've done. We have amended these, we have tweaked these, we have sort of molded these different things we do in training camp and week by week and bye week and playoffs and Super Bowl week, what our routines are, that we can throw in other little things. And this team has been there, done that we can throw more things in there. But to say, we just played in the Super Bowl, but be aware, everybody, in training camp, be aware, playoff rules are different now. I don't know where the clip is. It's somewhere out there of Mahomes saying something like, "I wonder what they'll change the rules to now." Which is just brilliant. That
I didn't miss that completely.
The Chiefs are still sort of salty over the rules being changed because the Chiefs beat the Bills, but nobody said squat after the Patriots won against the Chiefs. But all of a sudden, oh my God, the Bills, Josh Allen, let's go out of our way for him. But the rules are different, and Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs were aware of that and presented that in training camp. It's just brilliant stuff, man. It's stuff that you just simply can't make up, and it's stuff that you learn about and read about and continue to find out what separates this team and what will continue to separate this team. As Andy Reid was asked about retirement and said, I haven't thought about it, but people keep asking. I haven't gone there. Haven't thought about it. He was asked specifically, are you going to return? Said, yep, to hang with you, Adam.
So good,
And Adam
man.
Teicher responded, that's a good enough reason.
Last night, Matt Derrick, I think, quote tweeted the video of Andy Reid falling on top of Chris Jones and that whole scene.
I mean, are you kidding me?
It's unbelievable. But Matt quote tweeted that with something like, "This is the greatest love story the NFL has to offer." And I would like to suggest that Andy Reid and Adam Teicher is on the podium. It's top three. You got Taylor and Travis, you got Andy and Chris, and you got Andy and Adam. I mean, Andy Reid's apparently he's got a whole love triangle going on, but I could listen to that all day long.
By the way, it's brought up and brought to my attention that Andy Reid apparently for the first time, he didn't say time's yours.
Whoa!
I wasn't even paying attention to that, but apparently Andy Reid did not say time's yours. This is a new Andy Reid. It's all new Andy Reid. He's won back-to-back. Everything's different.
Is that? Are you saying today or
today?
Also last night?
No, today he didn't go.
I wonder if he said it last night.
With that time's yours.
I'm curious now if he broke form last night. Dylan, I know, don't worry about doing it this segment, obviously, but Dylan, in the break, if you could just verify for us if last night, if Andy Reid said time's yours.
And verify this one, too. I mean, I don't doubt it. There's multiple people that have said that he didn't say time's yours because that's just something that you think of with, oh, my God, he didn't say time's yours, Andy Reid.
Absolutely.
Which is crazy. We'll take a timeout. Time is yours, commercial and sponsors. We are here at Rally House, Quivira, Lenexa location by Oak Park, and Chiefs Kingdom. They are getting you geared up for the parade coming up in 48 hours, baby. If you're heading to Grand to watch this grand franchise celebrate yet another Super Bowl, Rally House is getting you ready to go to paint the town red and gold throughout the offseason, throughout the regular season, throughout the year, and certainly on Wednesday, a day for lovers, and Valentine's Day will be extra special this year with your Kansas City Chiefs wearing the red that we wear on Valentine's Day, and it means a lot more this year. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone next. It is a dynasty the Chiefs are in the middle of, that you guys are in the middle of enjoying and watching and celebrating and just embracing the dynastic qualities that this team has presented over the last 5 years. Rally House getting you set with all of that 16 KC Metro Rally House locations. They will have continual shipments and deliveries throughout the days for Rally House and all the different locations. That's where we are today at 2 o'clock. We're actually going to be at the Power and Light location tomorrow. So we'll be at P&L location tomorrow for Rally House. So if you're around there and want to come out and shake the hand of Josh Briscoe, you can do that. If you want to come out and ignore me, and you can do that. Last Friday, we were up north, and people came out just to take a picture with Mick Schaefer, which you can do today as well.
Yes.
Because Mick will be here around 1 o'clock. If you are looking for a picture with KSHB 41's Mick Schaefer, he'll be here around 1 o'clock. So we can have that for you as well.
And if you ask him for a picture, I'll actually go ahead and just slip you $5 because we're trying to get Mick's ego back up a little bit.
Oh,
it's just
tough, yeah.
he's become such a really a wilted version of himself. It's just like to see him get some energy back again.
Petals are falling off daily.
It's really sad.
It's disappointing. Really is.
It's time to build up that man's ego.
Yeah, bloom off the rose, if you will. This is back-to-back years we've talked about redemption stories, or at least redemption stories have been a part of the overall story of the Super Bowl. Last year, the redemption story of the punt returns and Sky Moore and the special teams and Harrison Butker and missing field goals and the issues with the holding and the snap and the operation that was there, and all through the year that took place, and yet they get into the postseason, and against the Bengals they have a big punt return with Sky Moore. Harrison Butker buries an almost 50-yarder in the cold with a flat football that he didn't know that it was going to make it all the way there, and they get into the Super Bowl, and Kadarius Toney has a huge punt return to set up the Chiefs taking another lead or extending a lead, and then Harrison Butker kicks another field goal to win the game. There was redemption last year that was part of the story, and somehow this season, yet again, back-to-back years, it's a redemption story. Marquez Valdez-Scantling caught a touchdown in this game. He has been enemy number one most of the season, a lot for the wide receivers. Certainly he has not been able to dodge some of the criticism on this show. It's been a lot of criticism towards MVS on this show. Mecole Hardman was a guy that has been viewed throughout his career as not good enough. He's been compared to Tyreek. It was a bust, all of the things you want to talk about. Then they trade for him, and he can't track the ball against the Miami Dolphins. And what are you trading for this guy for? And you gave up a pick for this, and then he fumbles into the end zone against the Buffalo Bills. And a couple of people tweeted me my immediate tweet of saying, that should be the last time Mecole Hardman ever touches the ball in a Chiefs uniform again. Yeah. And then I replied to those of starting now. Starting now. But he catches the game-winning touchdown.
Yep.
Mahomes throws 2 touchdowns, one to MVS and one to Mecole Hardman. It is amazing what the last couple of years have presented. And I think, to me, that's a credit to the coaching staff. I think it's a credit to the players as well, that at any point Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid or anybody else could have just said, all right, MVS, get the hell out of here. Sorry, you're not playing. No longer. We can't do it. We can't trust you. You are not playing. They could have said that, yet they kept playing them, much to the chagrin of a lot of people, myself included, of why were they doing that. Mecole Hardman fumbles the ball into the end zone. Could have been, all right, Mecole, done. Done. You're not touching the ball anymore. Yet he has that deep pass, catches it, tracks it. The safety didn't track it. He tracked it, got down inside the 10-yard line, and then he has the Tom and Jerry Wright with corn dog motion for the game-winning touchdown. I'm looking forward to next year of who we talk about is bad on this team and needs to be cut or needs to be benched so then they can be a Super Bowl hero.
That's clearly the path. I got 2 angles on this, and I got to give them in a coupling here because I'm going to sound like a hater with one or like I'm missing the details on the other. So I'm of 2 minds on it because MVS and Mecole Hardman's touchdowns were Andy Reid's touchdowns. I mean, those are schemed up, masterful. I was watching the replay just now. I hadn't noticed, but Nate Tice tweeted the clip and made a point of it. Travis Kelce while the ball is in the air on the Hardman touchdown, is looking at the Jumbotron, raising his hands to signal touchdown. He's watching it on the Jumbotron because he knows as soon as Trevarius Ward comes down, and he knows. Those are Andy Reid touchdowns. Those guys were wide open in both of those plays, in large part because of the gravitational pull of Travis Kelce. Different guys could have caught those passes, and last year they did. Last year it was Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, two guys who had literally no impact on this game this year, despite being wide receiver 1 and 2 coming into the year, arguably. Which is crazy to think about. That's another big picture. That's like a Wednesday talk that we should have.
We'll get into that this week or next week or sometime in June.
Definitely. But of those two touchdowns, again, I think it's more about the play than the individual players on the receiving end of both of those plays. But this is where part 2 is vital, because I don't want to discount what MVS and Hardman did. Andy talked about it some with Hardman after the game, I think. They still had to be ready for that moment to belong to them. I'm saying that other guys could have been in that spot, but they weren't. The Chiefs tightened up their rotation and said, all right, who are we going to put? Because you say, hey, they could have just sent him to Mars. That's what they did with Kadarius Toney. We didn't see Kadarius Toney after the Patriots game in a Chiefs uniform. I'm sure he was truly hurt for at least some of it. He wasn't yesterday. He just was a healthy scratch. Sky Moore active over him. Justin Ross was a healthy scratch too. Again, whatever. Stuff happens. But as they narrowed that group down and decided who they trusted, MVS and Mecole Hardman, wearing the awkward number 12, were both on the right side of that line. And the Chiefs had to pick some guys they could trust in those moments. They needed 3 or 4 receivers that they could physically throw the football to that they believe would not let them down in those moments. And when those guys were schemed open in the end zone in 2 plays they had to have, they both were in the right headspace to make that catch and be heroes again. That all coexists for me. Those touchdowns might as well have been thrown by Andy Reid. He should get them on his stat sheet. He should be the receiver. Andy Reid had 2 receiving touchdowns yesterday. But those players had to be there to actually execute in the I was going to say the most tense moment of their football lives, but they both played in last year's Super Bowl, so I don't know. I guess it depends on the circumstances. But that's, again, a team being an honest-to-goodness team, and that being the thing that allowed them to go back-to-back.
As we take a break and talking about that, and it's a great point about the 2 Patrick Mahomes touchdown throws to Andy Reid and Andy Reid.
Yep. I think that's what it should be in the stat sheet.
With an assist to Travis Kelce on both of them.
Yes, 100%.
Because the MVS was wide open because the safety came down and crashed down on Travis Kelce, which made it easy for Mahomes just to lob it up there and made it easier for MVS to catch, although it looked a little nip-tuck at times when he was catching it and putting it away.
He did double-clutch it a little bit.
Oh, my goodness, man. It was a lot. Just be smooth. Either way, Mecole Hardman had as many touchdown receptions in the Super Bowl as he did receptions with the New York Jets this year.
Unbelievable.
So there you go. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. And in Lenexa, right by Oak Park. And it is our location today until 2 o'clock, but the 16 KC Metro Rally House locations with all of the Super Bowl gear getting you ready for the parade coming up on Wednesday, Valentine's Day parade number 3 for the Kansas City Chiefs, parade number 4 in the last decade for Kansas City. So they are getting you set for all of that and the official Chiefs Super Bowl 58 winning merchandise at Rally House, and they continue to get shipments throughout the day in all of the 16 KC Metro locations. Let's talk with our NFL insider from ESPN. It is Field Yates joining us here in the zone. Field, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Jason, I'm doing well. Back from Vegas after a busy and certainly dramatic and exciting 6 days. Good to be home, but always great to be on site for the Super Bowl. And it was a hectic, crazy week in Las Vegas. But overall, I wouldn't be surprised if that city calls the Super Bowl home again sometime soon as a host city, I should say, at the very least.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've heard that. I agree from what I've heard from other people, not being there to experience it. But there's that sentiment that's been out there. One of the guys that we have covering the Chiefs that was there said the same thing, that he would expect Las Vegas to be on a regular rotation now because of how that thing went there this week in the game. How the game went, certainly it was touch and go at times for the Chiefs and winning that thing. But Field, what do you take away from the game and Super Bowl number 3 for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and this group of players?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to choose just one thing. We can start with Patrick and the brilliance, the calm. That was just, that's the kind of stuff that is the stuff of legends. It's why he's on the very short list for the greatest to ever do it. It's why even, probably 40% of the way through his career, or whatever specific percentage, I guess we can't determine that right now, but it's already safe to say that he belongs in that conversation for one of the greatest individual athletes of all time. That certainly stood out. When I think about it a touch deeper, though, I do sort of think about how, it's so easy for us, understandable, to want to stack teams in terms of how much talent they have. And I don't know if the Chiefs have the same number of, blue chip players at the very top of their position that have been there and done that for a while, like the 49ers do, right? It feels like with Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and guys like that, you might say to yourself that they are a little top heavier than Kansas City, but I felt like last night was an exercise in the depth of that roster that has been masterfully built by that Chiefs front office, and I really felt like in clutch moments and moments where coaching could really be revealed, the Chiefs show themselves to be light years ahead of San Francisco. A couple of plays here or there is all it takes to determine a game that is settled in overtime. And after the first quarter, or after that 10-0 lead, I should say at the very least, it kind of felt like every sort of, I'll call it a 50-50 play for the Chiefs, or 50-50 opportunity, ended up being one in which you favored Kansas City in the situation. So a huge credit to the entire Chiefs coaching staff for getting the guys ready and having them ready for situations that frankly aren't that common. Obviously just a second overtime game in the 58 editions of the Super Bowl.
What do you make of the overtime rules and the conversation that's sort of come out of that, with that being the most recent part of the conversation with this win? I mean, obviously we're having a lot of different discussions around here, from, bigger picture and individual plays and, dynasty and 3 and 5 years and all of that stuff. But, the overtime rules was part of the story last night, and the Chiefs and Chris Jones talking about them going over the rules in training camp and saying in training camp what they would do. And that is they would kick, and then if the team scored a touchdown on their opening drive, the Chiefs would get the ball back, score a touchdown, and they would go for 2. That's the strategy they would have, and they talked about it in training camp, and they talked about it this week as well. And then the 49ers players saying that, Eric Armstead found out before overtime started that the new rules, and Kyle Juszczyk thought that they took the ball because it was the regular rules. You would see a touchdown wins the game. Do you make much of this? Is it that big of a deal if the players know the rules or not? And did Kyle Shanahan go strategically the right way in taking the ball first?
All right, so first of all, my coaching point to the players would have been, don't admit that, right? You just don't do it. It's a bad look for the players, a bad look for the coaches, but, it's not like this was news that crept upon us, right? I mean, this was a much ballyhooed switch to have NFL overtime rules adjusted for the postseason. So I would not have said anything like, oh, yeah, I had no idea what these rules were all about. Let's start there. In terms of like the decision itself, my feeling is this. It's a completely justifiable decision to take the football first in overtime, given the fact that if, the teams match wits, you're talking about having a strategic advantage if you have that third possession. Like, that's insanely valuable, right? My only thought would be that I wish, if I were a 49ers fan, I wish Kyle Shanahan had been a touch more aggressive on that opening drive in overtime, because you have to prepare for the very real possibility of Patrick Mahomes leading the Chiefs to a touchdown drive. So I would have been more aggressive when they got into the Chiefs' half of the field after a fairly meticulous start to the drive. I understand that a lot of people are crying, or saying today, crying that, Kyle Shanahan is a moron for taking the football first because of the fact that it gives the Chiefs the advantage, kind of knowing what they need. But in my mind, I'm kind of expecting the Chiefs to, do whatever they want to do in overtime, whether they have the ball first or second. So I might actually be thinking towards that third drive. I think this is one that can probably be debated reasonably on both sides. I just think that if I'm taking the football, I am preparing first, I should say, that I am preparing to be as aggressive as I need to, and 4-down territory kind of creeps in pretty much like the moment I get the football from the beginning of overtime.
Yeah, the advantage I would see, and if Mahomes is out there, I think it might change the calculus a little bit to where, if I score a touchdown or if I kick a field goal, we talked about this, and I'm glad that we aren't discussing what would have happened. But if the Chiefs got the ball first and we're facing 4th and 1 at their own 34-yard line, does Andy Reid go for it at that point, or does he punt it away and say, we can't just give the win away if we don't get it right here? But they had no choice. They had to go for it because you lose the game if you don't. And so they go for it. Their hand was forced in being aggressive, and they end up scoring a touchdown on that drive. I have no idea, and it's part of sort of, the college rules, right? The college overtime rules. You always, if you win the coin toss, you defer, and the other team gets the ball first, and you choose which side you want to play on because you want to know what the answer would be. And I get Kyle Shanahan saying, well, the third possession is sudden death if they both tie. There's a lot that would have to happen, though, the first couple of possessions for you to get that sudden death overtime. You would have to both teams score a touchdown and that team not go for two. You'd have to have both teams kick a field goal or both teams not score for you to get that third possession. And just knowing you have 4 downs, and what came up to me, Field, in that overtime drive, it's not just the 4th and 1. It was – I don't know, a couple plays later when it was 1st down and 10, and Mahomes hits MVS for what would have been a 6 or 7 yard gain, and then he breaks the tackle and runs backwards, and it ends up being 2nd and 13. If you've got the ball first, 2nd and 13 might be different play calls than if you know that you've got to go for it on 4th down. Because now you've got 3 plays to pick up 13 yards. I just think some of those strategies come into play of knowing what you have to have and then changing your strategy there of, well, we got 3 downs to pick up 13 yards because – boom, a quick little dump off to MVS the next play to pick up 6 yards. Okay, well, if that was 2nd and 13 and you don't have a field goal on the board, are you changing it and trying to throw to the sticks on 2nd and 3rd down? I don't know.
Yeah, I think here's the reality is what I would say, Jason, is that, you have to be process-oriented in terms of planting your flag on one side of the coin or the other rather than results-oriented, right? It's easy to say right now Kyle Shanahan should have deferred and let the Chiefs have the football first because we know what the outcome was, right? My feeling was, and I was actually surprised, I did think Tony Romo did a nice job on the broadcast. Obviously, he's been, oft criticized this year. I thought he did a good job in a lot of cases explaining the aggressive mentality. He was calling for Kyle Shanahan to go on the 4th and down frequently throughout the game. The only part that I thought was missed in the conversation when they were discussing the debate, or they were debating the merits of taking the ball first versus, kicking off and deferring, was just the idea, that third possession, which I do think is critical. I guess it kind of depends on what lens you want to view it from. If you're going in there with that mindset that we're going to score in that opening drive, and you have to think that worst-case scenario is the Chiefs matching you with a touchdown. Well, I understand the Chiefs could go for 2 and win the game, and while Chris Jones is saying that, I would just say, generally speaking, Andy's, I would say his more conservative nature would lead me to believe they're probably not going to go for 2 there. We don't have precedent, right? This is the first time that we've had this overtime situation in the Super Bowl. But, I might be saying to myself, screw, I want that third possession, whether the game is then tied at, it would be, 26-26 at that point, right?
22-22.
I want that third possession.
22-22, I think.
Or if it had been 2 touchdowns, I'm saying. If
Yeah,
both
okay,
teams had
I'm
scored
sorry,
a touchdown in the overtime. Right.
I
so
see what you're saying.
whatever
Yep,
the
you're right,
scoring was, right, like, you'd be saying to yourself, I want that third possession. So I do think, like, I was okay with it. I didn't think it was like this massive, egregious error. Ultimately, like, the stuff that I think the 49ers need to lament are execution errors. And I thought the Chiefs, you know, and again, it's easy. Like, the Chiefs looked so much more fearless in that game down the stretch. You know, I've seen a lot of people talking about how Brock Purdy played today. I'm not here sitting around saying that the 49ers got a terrible performance from their quarterback. But if they didn't get, like, a chunk yardage play on first down, I was expecting it yesterday, like, all right, it's like, good luck. Like, they're not going to advance the football down the field. It felt like every time the Chiefs were playing ahead of the sticks defensively, you know, whether it was 2nd and 9 situations that lead to 3rd and long situations, it's like I didn't think the 49ers had any answer whatsoever. They're an incredible run after catch team, but I don't know whether it was whether Brock was playing hesitantly, whether they felt like they couldn't handle the pressure the Chiefs were bringing, or what it was. But a lack of vertical plays or explosive plays down the field, which of course was an issue for the Chiefs all season, felt like it was the big issue for San Francisco last night. As a matter of fact, Jason, I think they said that McCaffrey's catch and run in the I think it was an overtime was like a 24. That was our longest play of the entire game.
Yeah. Yep. And the Chiefs did a great job of limiting that. And one of the stats from last night is that when Brock Purdy was targeting Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle, he was 8 of 20 for 86 yards and a 53 quarterback rating. And Steve Spagnuolo has just been so good. And one of the best things of the last couple of weeks, Field, is that how many people have talked about Steve Spagnuolo and the flowers that he's getting of being the defensive coordinator, and now he's got 4 Super Bowl championships as a defensive coordinator, or is it 5? I don't even know.
He's got
DC,
4 now, and that makes him the only
now.
coordinator ever. No other. Now there have been people who have won multiple championships as coordinators and then won them as head coaches as well, right? But in terms of people winning rings in a coordinator capacity, Steve Spagnuolo now has the most, with 4 as a defensive coordinator. That's on both defense and offense.
Well, and I do wonder, and I do wonder if we start to talk about, like, greatest coordinator of all time, and if that's the case, does Hall of Fame come up for Steve Spagnuolo when he's done, if there can ever be a Hall of Fame induction for a coordinator? Because according to DVOA, the 3 best teams to never win a championship, the 1, 2, and 3 teams to never win a championship, 3 best teams, 07 Patriots, 2019 49ers, and this year's 49ers. All 3 lost to Steve Spagnuolo coordinated defenses.
He's certainly on the short list for greatest coordinators of all time. I think the tough part for people who maybe aren't Chiefs fans or Giants fans is going to be separating what the coach did as a head coach as opposed to what he did as a coordinator, right? So, you know, Belichick would also be on that list for his work with the Giants as a coordinator, and that's also amplified by the fact that he's got more head coaching wins than anybody else in Super Bowl history. Meanwhile, for Spags, you've got the 2 opposing forces, right? I mean, unbelievable as a coordinator with, obviously, minimal success as a head coach during his time with the Rams. But I don't. Those are the kind of things, Jason, that I probably should spend more energy caring about, but I don't. Like, I'm just impressed with hell by how he coordinates a big game and how he's able to confuse and dial up pressure. And, there's so much about play calling on defense that is just sort of timing and knowing exactly when to kind of use whatever pellets you have available. And it felt like Spags was willing to play the patient game. I mean, it's tough when you go down 10-0. You're probably saying to yourself, we've got to find a way to kickstart the energy of this game because our offense hasn't been able to settle or handle their defense up to this point. I mean, Kelsey with 1 catch for 1 yard in the first half. What are the odds that takes place? And yet Spags kind of just held his ground, played the long game, the patient game. And in the end, they found those critical moments on defense to make Brock Purdy uncomfortable, and a couple of third-down conversions that go the other way could have been the difference, and the Chiefs' defense ended up being the difference in this game.
Field Yates is our guest from ESPN, our NFL insider. The conversation about greatest of all time, best we've ever seen. I think we can differentiate between those two, right? Greatest of all time, maybe most accomplished, Tom Brady. But I said when we started the show, like, the best player I've ever seen play NFL football is Patrick Mahomes. And if somebody wants to argue Tom Brady over Patrick Mahomes for the GOAT, that's fine. But I don't care about 7-3 in rings. I'm looking at it and saying he's the best player I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's funny. I think about the GOAT debate more than I should right now because I think it's like one of the great – between Patrick and Tom, I think it's like one of the great wastes of energy. Like, here's the deal. If Patrick gets to 7 – then the GOAT conversation takes on new life. Or if he gets to 6 and breaks every statistical record of all time. But he's also only played 6 seasons as a starter in his career. Like, who cares about this right now? Like, we could be talking about this in 10 years, and he could have 10, right? Like, is that real? Like, why are we caring about this conversation right now? He's on, like, hole 7 of the proverbial 18-hole golf course of his career, right? So, the most important part is that at the age of 28, he's already injected life into the conversation about being the greatest of all time. So I'm going to be more appreciative of what we get the chance to witness right now than I am concerned about whether he's already better or more accomplished than Tom Brady. But as far as individual talents, I think I'm like you. Every time I watch him, I just find myself in a bit more awe. And I couldn't think of a better player to kind of represent the face of the league now and probably for the next 10 or 12 years.
Field Yates is our guest. Did the Chiefs show that you can win a Super Bowl with a very expensive quarterback, or did the Chiefs show that you can win a Super Bowl with a very expensive quarterback named Patrick Mahomes?
No, they just reinforce what I think has long been known, Jason. I get it. There are, obviously there are challenges when your quarterback is on a contract that's different as opposed to when he is on his rookie contract. But I think one of the most overrated things in professional media or professional football media discourse is the idea that having a quarterback on a justifiably paid contract is a hindrance or a challenge for your roster. I don't look at it like that, Jason. I look at it like having a quarterback on a rookie deal is an advantage. Jared Goff had the second or third highest cap hit in the NFL this year. They made it to the Final Four and, could have been playing in the Super Bowl. So I'm certainly of the belief that if you have a quarterback who's one of the greatest ever, like Patrick Mahomes, even if you just have a quarterback who's talented and capable and worth the money, to me, I'm not so concerned about the contract. We're going to be seeing a lot of teams that are going to have to sort of navigate that same challenge that the Chiefs are right now because, as we know, we got a bunch of quarterbacks that have either recently been paid or will soon be paid. The cap is not going down. That's good news. But the challenge is going to persist. So I tend to think that's a little bit overrated, and I'm glad that the Chiefs showed us last night that we shouldn't spend as much time talking about it as some people in certain corners of football media do.
I like how you said justifiable contract. It's a great way of looking at it. If you've got a justifiable contract for a quarterback that's making a lot of money, it's different than feeling like, well, this is the price of doing business. We just have to pay him this money.
Yeah, Jason, Russell Wilson's contract is a problem, right? That's a real challenge. Yeah. That's a problem. But Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple that have been paid recently. That's not a problem, right? Like, those guys are worth it. They've proved it. They are like, those guys are ceiling raisers, obviously, but they're kind of built-in floors as well. So it can be a problem when you have a guy who quickly becomes overpaid. But when these guys are on the terms that are still justifiable, then to me, it's not even close to a disadvantage.
Field Yates from ESPN NFL Insider. 2 quick ones for him. We'll let you go. How many Super Bowls for Patrick Mahomes in his career when it's all said and done now that he has 3 in his first 6 years as a starter?
I'll go 8. I don't, I guess you can hold me to it. But yes, I'll go 8. 8, sure, why not?
8. Why not?
Deal.
Yes, deal. Sign me up. Settle. I'm settling out of court right now. Field Yates has offered me right in front of me. It's a plea bargain. It's a plea deal. Mahomes wins 8 Super Bowls. I'm going to settle for 8 Super Bowls right now. I will accept that, and I'd rather do that instead of taking my chances, even if 10 is possible. I'll take 8. Done and done. Thank you, Field.
Of course. It's like ridiculous that I could say that and you wouldn't scoff at it, by the way. Like, 8. Yeah, no big deal. Like, yeah, it's possible, right?
That makes sense. He's got 3 already. Yeah. If he's got another
100%.
14, 15 years of playing, can he win 5 more? Who wins next year's Super Bowl?
You think I'm going to bet against the Chiefs? I got Chiefs over Rams. That was my gut reaction. So Chiefs, Rams,
Okay.
Chiefs win. That's my. Yeah, listen, I had Chiefs 49ers this year. So
you did.
I'm again, as I said all the time, I give you 55 misses I had, but I'll take that one make as well.
Darn right. Make sure you let people know about that one make, because they may focus too much on the miss. Field Yates from ESPN. He never misses with us. He's our NFL insider. Field had a blast again this year, man. Really enjoyed it as always. I hate that our conversations are over, but love to catch up with you periodically through the off season. And see what's going on with your mind in football. But had another blast talking with you, and hopefully next year we're having more conversations and another Super Bowl championship for the Chiefs.
Right back to you, Jason. Always a blast, and we'll talk draft, free agency, you name it, sometime here soon.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Field Yates from ESPN, NFL Insider.
Enjoy the 3 weeks of off-season, Field. Rest up. You've earned it.
3 days? 3 weeks?
I think, yeah,
3 hours?
really. Maybe it might be 3 hours of off-season.
That's right. You got dynasty leagues to draft for. Come on, man. You got
oh man,
draft before the draft.
Dylan, get Field back. I want to know about his top 100 for next year.
In draft picks.
Who's going 1-1?
Not even draft in fantasy.
Just
football.
in fantasy, just in fantasy.
Well, 1-1 dynasties, Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
okay, good to know.
Or is it Marvin Harrison, depending on your scoring? You know.
Yeah, straight to voicemail. I think he heard what we were going to be talking about, so we're blocked actually.
Blocked.
No, it's fine. I'll text him. I text him every week. No, that's weird. It says this number has been changed. Please don't text it till next football season. That doesn't sound like an automated message.
Message not received. That's odd. I don't know why.
It says message not wanted. That's a very strange error.
It says this is a fax machine now.
No, Field's the best. People, I imagine that most people know that we don't routinely and intentionally put jerks on the show, but Field and Cynthia both throughout football season are just the best.
Present company excluded.
Yeah. It's kind of to counterbalance us.
That's right. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and we are hanging out here until 2 o'clock. Our location at Rally House is right off Quivira, Lenexa location, Oak Park, where they are getting you set for the parade on Wednesday and set with all of your Chiefs gear. Look, there's tons of other stuff here, too. If you know that Rally House has the selections, that if you're looking for almost anything, you can get it at Rally House, including a lot of the KC shirts and the KC stuff and just the KC love is here at Rally House. But 16 KC Metro Rally House locations, Super Bowl championship collection gear is here, and they continue with truckloads and more deliveries throughout the day and days with the different Rally House locations. This is our location until 2 o'clock, but they continue to stay open, and they're getting you set for Wednesday's parade and the Super Bowl 58 champion, 3 and 5 years, dynasty back-to-back champion, Kansas City Chiefs. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone right after this. 49ers was that they had the better defense, the better quarterback, and the better coach. And at the end of the day, what happened? The better defense made stops when they had to. The better quarterback was brilliant. And the better coach had his team even prepared for what the overtime rules were in that game. And that can be the difference between a play here or there, 3 points here or there. I mean, a missed extra point. The guy kicked it into the defensive line. Credit Mike Dana for getting his hand up, but Mike Dana's done that probably 1,000 times in his career, never blocked an extra point. That thing was kicked right into him. So thank you to Moody. But that's also part of team building, is that Harrison Butker put together one of the greatest kicking seasons of all time. Of all time. Sorry, Taylor, I'm going to let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the greatest of all time. Of all time, okay? Harrison Butker this year, 44 of 46 on all field goals. And I think he's perfect on regularly inflated field goals, regularly inflated footballs. Yeah. 44 of 46 on all field goals. He's 46 of 46 on extra points. So he has swung his foot through a football 92 times, and he made 90 of them, 90 for 92. He's 15 of 15 on field goals of 40 or more yards. He was 7 of 7 on field goals of 50 or more yards. He also had a 60-yarder, and he now owns the record for the longest field goal in Super Bowl history at 57 yards. But again, you've got issues in the 90s where the Chiefs couldn't find a field goal kicker. Mm-hmm. You've got a loss to Miami where the field goal was short. You got a loss to the Colts because of just interceptions and field goals. And the 49ers go to overtime because their field goal kicker misses an extra point, kicks it into the defensive arms. And Harrison Butker swings his leg through a football 92 times this year, and he makes 90 of them. Just sort of part of the overall story. And he's able to kick all of those field goals in the game because the defense kept the 49ers off the board for a good portion of that. I talked about the stat of Christian McCaffrey, 3.6 yards per carry, which was the lowest yards per carry of his career with a healthy Trent Williams at left tackle. I mentioned with Field Yates about the Steve Spagnuolo stat that the best teams in the DVOA era to lose a Super Bowl, the best non-Super Bowl winning teams in the DVOA era, number 1 was the 2007 Patriots, number 2 was the 2019 49ers, and number 3 was the 2023 49ers. All 3 of those teams lost to a defense coordinated by Steve Spagnuolo. All 3 of those teams scored below what their season average was. Those teams scored 17, 20, and 22 points in the Super Bowl against Steve Spagnuolo. And how about this little stat, too, since we're throwing some nuggets out and giving the flowers and the love to the defense. This was the 48th game in which Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle played together. 48th game. Have you seen this stat?
I saw this one.
48th game in which those 3 guys have played together. It's the 3rd time ever that they have been held to under 100 yards from scrimmage combined with those 3 guys. 3rd time ever. The only other 2, last year in the NFC Championship game when they didn't have a quarterback, and earlier this year against Cleveland when Deebo Samuel got hurt in the game. So now this is out of 48 times, or you could say 46 times. It's the only time in 46 games where all 3 guys have played. Deebo Samuel didn't leave the game because he got injured, and they had a healthy quarterback throughout the game, that they didn't gain 100 yards from scrimmage.
Literally a functional quarterback. Just
functional quarterback. That's absolutely right. Christian McCaffrey, lowest yards per carry, and the first time in 48 or third time in 48 games that Deebo, Ayuk, and Kittle didn't combine for at least 100 yards from scrimmage.
I think all the time about the conversation we had after the Lions game of being like, well, I mean, obviously that's disappointing, but get Chris Jones back. How long before the Chiefs defense wins them a game? And then it was like, oh, well,
the next week.
I was going to say 6 days. I guess that's what it was, like 10 days later because they played on Thursday. But it was the next week against the Jags.
Yeah.
And we talked so much early in the year about the Chiefs defense. And this isn't even fully just a patting myself on the back. Although I guess if I can reach back there, I might as well.
I got you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The thought process for me as that first quarter of the season was unfolding was like, man, this defense is like really good, and I think it's going to get better. And hey, this is like something. This is something to watch and like to get excited about. We were excited about the Chiefs defense. I didn't think it was going to end like this. Yeah. I didn't think 10 points against the Ravens in the AFC Championship game and 19 to the Niners in regulation, and then holding them to a field goal when a touchdown would have really turned the heat on. I mean, obviously the heat was on regardless, but I really felt like I was about as big of a Chiefs defense optimist as I could reasonably be through that first quarter of the season. They never, ever, in a 21-game season, never allowed 30 points. They never allowed 28, but just for the round number.
Yeah.
The Packers, mid-season, when LaFleur and Love were starting to really heat up, they hit 27 points, and that was the high watermark.
Yeah.
They lost games. They got put in bad positions by their own offense in many of these games. The offense gave up 14 points to the Raiders on Christmas, and they lost that game 20-14. It's unbelievable how good that defense was, and at every depth and with plenty of injuries, and with Spags just absolutely cooking. It's hard to quantify, but that stat that you've read now a couple of times about those 3 best teams to fall just short, they all fell short at the hands of Spags. That is no coincidence.
And all 3 of them, all 3 of them held a fourth-quarter lead at some
Good
point.
Lord, man.
And defenses had to step up and get stops, and they did. And also, there are a couple of plays that, there are a lot of plays that are difference makers throughout the course of an overtime game when there were 3 or 5 full quarters played. Because there was 2 seconds left to go in the overtime quarter of 15 minutes, not 10-minute quarter, not 10-minute overtime session before a tie. You get a new game. You just start a new game at that point, and they almost played into the second quarter of a brand new game. So there's a lot of plays that would matter there. But 3rd and 5, first play after the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter. The 49ers have the ball. The Chiefs only have 2 timeouts. If they pick up the first down on 3rd and 5, it's a very real possibility they bleed the clock, kick a field goal, and win the game. They would be 1 first down away from just simply saying, let's kill the clock, and Moody comes on and kicks a field goal. Because we know that he eventually did kick the field goal, and he made it. But what did they do? 3rd and 5, Steve Spagnuolo brought the blitz. Trent McDuffie disguised it brilliantly. It was an open lane. It was the open lane that they were going to throw to, intended for Juwan Jennings, and Trent McDuffie knocks it down. They kick a field goal. And on 3rd and 4, in overtime, when a touchdown, as you said, puts the heat on a play in which Jennings was going to be open for a touchdown, he brings Nick Bolton up to the line of scrimmage and ends up blitzing Justin Reed and has George Karlaftis in a wide 9, and the offensive line, for whatever reason, gets confused, and 2 guys react to Nick Bolton blitzing. The offensive tackle looks outside for George Karlaftis, and Chris Jones is left alone to run right up the middle. I would say literally untouched, but the left tackle, while he was shuffling to his right, touched Chris Jones with his left arm as Chris Jones was running by him, and gets to Brock Purdy, gets in his face, and Brock Purdy just has to lob it up and throw it away. As Brock Purdy is starting to throw the ball, Jennings is breaking free for what would have been a touchdown.
Yep.
And he would have been if the Chiefs didn't score a touchdown, you would be Juwan Jennings Super Bowl MVP with 2 receiving touchdowns and a passing touchdown, which would have been unbelievable. But those plays were 6 points total instead of 14. It's 8-point plays that were made on that. Or I shouldn't say because of 16. It could have been the difference in the game. The second one may not have mattered if the first one didn't happen, to force the field goal at the end of regulation and the Chiefs to get the ball back with 1:40 to go or whatever and go down and score the field goal to tie it.
I want to talk about Chris Jones more at great length over the next couple of days, but also if you're good with a little tease here, there was some really interesting audio from the Pat McAfee show with Adam Schefter that touches on some Chris Jones stuff and also legitimately breaks some Joe Cullen news. And I think you're going to like what you hear, Jason.
Yep. Okay. I like when you tell me I'm going to like what I hear. My Twitter profile from now on should just be Andy Reid laying on top of Chris Jones.
Oh, it really should be.
Because that man celebrated with Chris Jones just simply giving him a bear hug on the ground. Just, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to come down and hug you down here, Chris Jones. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We are hanging out at Rally House, Quivira. The next location, Oak Park, where they're getting you set for the parade and all of the official Super Bowl Chiefs gear. It's at any of your 16 KC Metro Rally House locations. Ours happens to be here at Quivira in Lenexa. We'll be at Power and Light Rally House tomorrow. We've got more zone right after this. simply the hour-long specials that take place with those that they were showing with the 49ers and the Eagles on Saturday night on NFL Network. There'll be all of those over the next couple of days. I cannot wait. It's so amazing when your team wins the Super Bowl to consume all of the information and the content that's out there. I can't wait for the mic'd up to hear all of the different things. As Kelsey said, maybe the mic'd up will reveal what I said to Andy Reid when I gave him the bump, but I told him I love him.
schools, they took too many of those snow days, those ice days, and those it's kind of too cold days off, didn't they?
Yep, they did, and now they're kind of two beautiful parade days. It's like took a sick day. Why don't you take a well day?
Yeah.
You know what? I feel so good. I'm not going to go to work today. It is so nice. I'm going to go to the parade on Wednesday. It's going to be like 50, 60 degrees, and you guys didn't go to school when it was 10. So now you can't be out of school when it's 55 or 60 degrees at a parade. But that does, and you know what? Every single kid's going to be in school now because of it.
I'm sure the Mill Valley Barstool account already solicited me to help out to put pressure on the superintendent, which they tagged in the post to tweet out something to say, no, the kids need to get out of school. I was like, my wife teaches in that district. She wants to get out too.
Yeah, what power do you have, though? What are you going to go on KSHB 41 and complain about Mill Valley? You superintendent. I am tired of you making
these guys are 17 years old. That's probably what they think I can do. That's their plan. Yes.
Good point, yes. And if you go on 41, then they are definitely going to cave.
Yes,
they are going to cave to the pressure of letting all the kids out. You've been through the Super Bowl parade and championship time when a couple of weeks ago, your kid's school district sends out that, unlike last year, we will not have the parade day off this year. Unlike in years past on parade day, your kids will have to go to school.
We're getting way too used to these championships, I think. I was all excited. We got off the air about 12:15 last night. I was listening to Josh on the way home. What time did you get done?
12:15?
Yeah, did you drive home to Wichita or anything? Because I would have still been on the whole time. Yeah, we signed off at 4. I left the building at 5. Yeah. I had another good hour in. We had audio we did not play.
See, that's the energy I wanted. I figured my buddies were still out at Tanner's, maybe another bar or somebody's basement bar, garage somewhere. No, they're already in bed. What? I got to work tomorrow. I mean, it's a Super Bowl. I know it happens often now, but you got to celebrate this like it's the first time ever, like it's the first time in 50 years. Let's go.
You can sleep on President's Day.
Sleep on President's Day.
By the way,
everyone should have rewatched the Raiders game. We all should have rewatched the Raiders Christmas game on Saturday, and we would have all been so much more grateful about what we saw last night.
That's exactly right. Yes, Mick, I started the show talking about just what this run sort of meant. That the first Super Bowl, not first, but the second Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl of this run down in Miami. I started my show the next day, not expecting to get emotional, right? I'm just on the air. Now, it might have been lack of sleep because I was going on like an hour's worth of sleep because we were in Miami. You know about that, working late and doing all the press conferences and everything. And that was awesome. And last year was cool to then back it up. And you don't go through the entire tenure of Patrick Mahomes and go, man, it's Andy Reid or it's Aaron Rodgers. They only got one Super Bowl, like the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. How do you do that? So they got 2. This one, for whatever reason, it meant a lot, man. I woke up this morning with just a different feel than I did last year for some reason, and maybe it was because of the course of the season. Maybe it was because of how the game played out that it felt a lot like the Bucs, yet they found a way to overcome it and win. I don't know maybe it's because now it's history and a dynasty, and there's no debating that the Chiefs not only win a Super Bowl, but now you're talking about one of the greatest runs in NFL history that they're now forever going to be a part of, back-to-back, the first time in 2 decades. I don't know what it is, but this one felt better than last year's did. And I woke up this morning going, yeah, I understand why Travis was saying it in the AFC Championship game and before the Super Bowl, because now I feel the same way, that this one felt better than last year.
Every run has its own story, right? Every run is different. And maybe I'm forgetting stuff, but I can't remember a story as wild as this, not just in the regular season, but just the postseason, right? You had the -27 wind chill game, right? He cracks his helmet, for crying out loud. You have the 2 road games. Everybody's throwing snowballs from the stands, right, in Buffalo. You have Justin Tucker, the kicker, trying to get in the Chiefs' heads in Baltimore before that game. You have 87, right? Taylor and Kelsey and all that stuff going on. And then you have this Super Bowl, which was stamped by, quite literally, it's the greatest ending to any Super Bowl ever, right? The only walk-off touchdown we've ever had. For me, that's
James White in the overtime against the Falcons.
That wasn't
Falcons,
a field goal?
Patriots. No, that was James White touchdown.
It was a field goal. Second one we've ever had.
Second one we've ever had. Second overtime we've ever had. Shanahan doesn't know about either of them.
Personally, I preferred this one.
I like this one a lot better. Yeah, I wish Shanahan would have won that one. Would have helped out winning that one, because then it would be 6.
He's a good dude. He deserves one. Wish he would have won that one. Yeah, so he can just,
yeah, that's fine.
Continuing to to lose them.
You know what? If he gets one day, that's fine. If a Shanahan never gets another Super Bowl, that's also fine. That's also fine if no Shanahan ever wins another Super Bowl.
So that's just the ending, just unbelievable. And there were so many big plays, so many instances where the Chiefs could have lost that game. I think the two plays you guys were highlighting earlier are the two biggest plays of the game, all along with the fourth down run by Mahomes. The 3rd and 5 with McDuffie, the 3rd and 4 or 5 or whatever with Chris Jones.
Yep.
Those were huge.
Well, the 3rd and 5 with McDuffie, I mean, we might be having a conversation right now about the Chiefs.
It was deja vu last year, but the Chiefs were just in the Eagles
19-16? So it was 16-16 at the end of at the 2-minute warning. It was 16-16. I'm trying to think. It was like, well, they won 25-22, so you got to take the 6 off the board and then the 3 that they also got to. So sitting 16-16 with 2 minutes to play, they're getting ready for 3rd and 5, and the Chiefs have 2 timeouts. If they pick up that first down, you're talking about the Chiefs watching the end of that game the way that the Eagles did last year, and us going, you can't call that holding call at that point. I mean, wait, we didn't have to do that, and nobody's complaining about officials this year.
There was in overtime a holding call that was ill-timed, but similar to last year. And here's the secret to.
But that was against the Chiefs, so it didn't matter.
Right? Yeah. Here's the secret to not having people complain about the refs. Let them play. I think that's what the NFL is figuring. How many holding calls did we have last night? Only a couple. None on the Chiefs, right? Are we going to have some no-hold shirts out there for the parade?
McDuffie was the only one that – I mean, it was a defensive holding, but the offense did not have a holding all day.
But the 49ers did on Tranquil, I think, right?
They had 2 holds. They had Trent Williams on a hold.
That's right.
Because he had the false start and the hold on the same
back
drive. And then it was the hold on Tranquil with the backup tight end when Kittle had to leave the game.
So props to Bill Vinovich in that we're not talking about his crew.
Yeah.
And I think they let him play. And look, I thought it was a hold on McDuffie there.
Yeah, it was.
Was that happened? There were a lot of wide angles, all 22s they were showing where Kelsey's just getting mauled by 2 guys about 10 yards down the field. You're like, you can call that. And so I'm sure there was similar contact in other plays, and it was ill-timed because I thought the Chiefs were poised right there to just go and walk it off with just 1 score there in overtime. And so if Nick Bolton didn't have a cast on his hand, I think maybe that the game ends right there.
As he's diving, his right hand gets pulled back by the so I'm watching, I'm like, oh, he's got the cast, it goes right through his arms, and then you see it again, and the slow motion, the I think his Debo, as he was falling, hits Nick Bolton's right arm and brings it back, and then when he gets there, the ball's already falling to the ground. I think if his right arm's there, I think he catches it. But that happens, and it's not something we're talking about and lamenting, and we're not talking about, the All-Pro got beat by Jennings on a move. Like, come on, man. On 3rd and 15, you can't hold on 3rd and 15, man. You can't do that. You got off the field. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about 3rd and 5, McDuffie's play. We're talking about 3rd and 4, Chris Jones getting in there, and also Spagnuolo scheming that up, and also the 49ers, for whatever reason, not scheming that up in the protection. Also, the depth that comes along with that, and injuries happen. Their right guard left the game. That was a backup right guard that decided to double-team Nick Bolton with the center instead of blocking Chris Jones right up the middle, and Chris Jones going untouched to Brock Purdy to then throw it away when it would have been a touchdown. Those things happen throughout a game. You got to overcome those, and maybe that was the wrong protection call by Brock Purdy. Maybe that's how the guard thought he was supposed to block, because they were sliding down one way because Brock Purdy read it wrong. That's also a second-year quarterback. You never know what goes on in those things, but there's so many different ebbs and flows to that, and the Chiefs, again, when it was close, and they were in the game in the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl, found ways to make more plays at the opportune times and to be 3-1 in the Super Bowl now with Patrick Mahomes.
I don't even think we've acknowledged this play. I don't think we've described this play yet, but it was you going through the list of things that we're not now having to belabor because the Chiefs won. That double pass would have done some emotional damage to me if I had to live with that as one of the things that cost the Chiefs the Super Bowl.
Well, Jennings was the most highly recruited quarterback in that game out of high school.
Is that right?
He was a 4-star recruit.
That's awesome.
Big time quarterback.
That is awesome since the Chiefs won.
Yes.
And if they would have lost, that would have been the most annoying fun fact ever.
Highest quarterback rating in the game last night.
1 for 1.
For a touchdown. His quarterback rating was a perfect 158.3.
That ball was in the air longer than Butker's 57-yard field goal.
Might have been. You know what?
Right?
That actually might have been. I want somebody to go and time that. I don't know if that's true or not, if you know that for a fact, but I really want somebody to stop watching.
It's a low liner. It's pretty quick.
I think you might be right on that. Oh, and how close Butker's 57-yarder was from touching.
Ooh, went to the side of an arm instead of over a hand.
I mean, unbelievable there. And I don't think he meant to drive it like that. Because he's got enough.
High snap means ball doesn't get down in time, which means ball's not always tilted back in time. They haven't talked about it.
Winchester.
That's my theory on what happened there.
Well, I'll
where
ask
like
Kendall.
he's kicking more of a vertical ball there.
I'll ask Kendall, but Tommy Townsend did a hell of a job of catching that and putting it down. And putting it in the spot that it needed to go, where his finger was, to show Harrison Butker, this is where you're kicking it from. And it's one thing just to lift your hand up real quick and put it back down. He reaches all the way back to his right shoulder, reaches up, then puts it down, and Butker buries it.
Greatest kicking season ever.
Yeah, I
it
agree.
is. I don't care if he missed two. He really just missed one. One was a deflated football in New England.
So he was 90
and
of
then
91.
he caught the Christmas Day flu that everybody else got and missed one against the Raiders. But then to do what he did, we just take for granted those clutch kicks, right? To tie it, to go into overtime. He of course made the game-winning field goal last year in the Super Bowl, and I get it; those are shorter kicks, and for these NFL guys, they're easy. But pressure situations, man, no 30-yard field goals feel more like 45 or 50 a lot of times.
And Romo at the end of regulation. The game can't end like this, right? When he was going to tie it. And he's talking about a missed field goal or a block. The game can't end like this, right? Like it can't end this way. It didn't, Romo. Okay, it didn't. All right, it didn't end that way. Thank you.
I mentioned this off air a couple times, but I'll say again now. Kevin Harlan is so stinking good, and I think what really came through in some of the highlights that we were playing last night, and again that you've heard so far today, he has the musicality of it absolutely perfected. Like he gave in one of those highlights on I think it was the Kelsey 22-yarder, where it was doing play-by-play, and there's a 49er down on the play. Travis Kelce, 20, everything is in rhythm and everything is musical that way. And also, Tony Romo calls football.
He's in the same profession.
That's what made me think of it.
You know, it's really uncharacteristic for Creed Humphrey to have those low snaps. Patrick Mahomes.
Well, and then he, again, at the beginning of the game, too, he's like, great. I like the thought behind the Chiefs deferring there. They always defer.
You have called Chiefs games so many times.
Especially when
it doesn't matter who they're playing.
Especially when Baltimore, the Chiefs decided to defer, and Tony Romo questioned the decision of why you would defer and put the Ravens offense out there first. And then this one, I like the strategy there to defer. Like, dude, every single time in the history of land,
the Chiefs could be playing an offense that's allowed to throw 18 guys on the field. Yeah, he would still kick off to them.
Well, you want the turnaround in the second half.
Yes.
We're doing that regardless.
He would still kick
Dinosaurs roamed the land, and Andy Reid deferred. Okay, it has happened. It is a story as old as time. And Creed Humphrey, it is not uncharacteristic for him to have not one, but two different snaps that rolled back to
Tony Romo
Mahomes.
and Creed Humphrey are the only ones surprised by the questions about the low snaps, right?
By the way, how much
what are you talking about?
Do you think
anybody, maybe he doesn't know? Does nobody tell him, you think?
Maybe he's only watching his film, when he goes forward. He's not watching the ball, he's just watching his technique. That might be it.
Patrick Mahomes would never say this because he's not ever going to throw a player under the bus. But with Rashee Rice being wide open over the middle on that play right before the last play.
When they threw to Kelce.
When he threw to Kelce. That was a ball that rolled back to Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. He had to immediately pick it up, get his feet set.
Your eyes go down.
Does he then go, I'm throwing it to Kelce, a jump ball here. This is what I'm doing because I've also
It's
got
a good
time.
question. I wonder, it's almost like that was designed. We're taking our shot to Kelce on a similar route, just on the other side of the field like they did in the Ravens game, the touchdown they connected with, so we have enough time for another play. And I think there's a huge difference between 7 and 6 seconds there. If that second doesn't tick off, I think they try it again. They try something quick again, which I was calling for with 6 seconds. I was rolling the dice a little bit in Vegas, but
oh, nice.
Hey,
I
they
see what
won.
you did. I see what you did there. But also, I wonder if Andy Reid's like, I'm not taking a chance with the low snap anymore. Just kick it. Just kick it, because if we've got 6 seconds left and it's a low snap and Mahomes has to pick it up and then throw it away, and by the time it hits the sideline, the time has run out. Nope, not doing it. Sorry, Creed. I'm going to rely on Winchester to snap this next ball.
Little AFC Championship Bengals PTSD also. Of like, I desperately wanted them to run a play there, but every thought of, well, what happens if they run this play and somehow the clock hits zero was just mortifying to me.
Speaking of announcers, there's a couple of calls I heard, and it was almost like our room. The end of the game caught me off guard. Just, it happened so quick, right? Because people are paying attention to the clock. We're in the newsroom. People are like, what are you doing at 7? I'm like, no, it's fine. It's just a quarter. It's just a quarter. And then I turned, and the snap's already happening, right? A lot of times before those big plays, there's a timeout. There's build-up, especially with the clock winding down. You're managing that. In this case, they're not. And it just caught me, and I've heard so many of the calls, and it feels like it caught a couple of the announcers off guard, too. They're like, what? This happened, and here we go. It's over. And so it's such a wild, sudden ending. At the end, it was so sudden.
Yeah. And MJD, after the game was over on the NFL Network set, still didn't know that.
He didn't know.
That there was another quarter.
He asked Andy about, like, what were you thinking there?
Yeah, you were going. I thought you were going to. You didn't call a timeout. You had a play that you liked, but, there was only a couple of seconds on the clock there. And Andy was like, well, we had to play. We didn't, we thought about a timeout. But
and I don't think Andy understood that MJD didn't know.
I agree with that. MJD was talking about, I can't believe you snapped the ball and didn't call a timeout because there was going to have to go to another overtime with a coin flip is what MJD was talking about.
It's inexcusable if the 49ers didn't know, if the players didn't know about the new overtime rule, but it's pretty convoluted at this point. There's too many rules. It's almost like soccer overtime. Like, are we going to PKs? We're doing a golden goal? We're going to do the 2 15-minute halves? Which one are we doing here?
Well, it's the quarterfinals, so it's not going to be the
right.
Well, actually,
it's just CONCACAF rules, so we're going to do it. It's U.S. Open Cup.
It's the first round. It's a best of 3,
right.
So there is no extra time. There's no extra time. It's 90 minutes full time.
I feel like they're just making all these decisions. They're getting closer and closer to college football, which is the best, but they don't want to get there.
It also would have just been so awkward for them to have 2.5 Lombardis in this stretch. We would have had half a parade. You only get half a ring. It's just cut off horizontally, so you can still wear it, but it's not as big.
I think people were thinking, oh, it's over. They're going to a second.
Yes,
overtime. Right. We're going to flip again. We're going to still play.
That's what I was wondering.
Yes.
I was wondering, too, but then my brother and I were talking. It's like, okay, my brother was like, no, he announced it, said this is a new game. He's like, we're starting a new game, not an overtime. And then finally, Romo, the one piece of information that was good is as the Chiefs got down there, he said, remember, this is a new game. This is the end of the quarter.
Yep.
This is not an overtime that's going to be ending. This is the end. I'm like, oh, great. Then they don't have to snap it
Which
here.
begs the question, like, do we need a clock? Do we need a clock in this situation?
Well, the other side of the field needs to get some of that, too. So you gotta switch the field over there, because what if the wind is going and you can't just have one team going the same direction every time if there's wind.
All right, everybody, here's a question for you that's really important on Super Bowl Monday.
Great.
What if they play all 4 quarters of the overtime period and it's still tied at the end? Then is it a new game? Or is it constantly replaying the first quarter of a new game?
No, then it goes into overtime rules. Then it's a tie. Because if you play 9 quarters, you're done. If you play 9 quarters and there's no winner, you just split the ring.
8 quarters.
And so, wait.
4, 8, and an extra one. No,
that makes
overtime.
sense.
Had they gone 4, 8, the second 4 quarters would be the full game. After that full game is over, then you have the regular overtime
Then you do.
rules.
I see. I got you. Then it's sudden death, golden goal, all of that.
Had they gone to that second period, would you have called it double overtime?
I was thinking about calling it double overtime.
They would have won? Or do you have to play that entire game to get to another game for it to be double overtime?
How long was the first the overtime periods when the Chiefs and Dolphins played double overtime, when it was the longest game in NFL history?
Was that double?
10 minutes? Yeah, it was a double
overtime. It was 10, I think, yeah.
So did they get to 5 minutes in the second overtime before they won? Or could this have been the longest? I don't know. I haven't seen anybody talk about it.
This is the longest Super Bowl in history.
Because it's a full – there was, 2 seconds on the clock? So you had a full quarter that was played so 5 full quarters of football. We got free football, and it was fun.
And it was the perfect strategy there, regardless of the clock, considering that, okay, this is a quarter, we're moving to another one. Don't call a timeout there. You have this 49ers defense on their heels. Go as fast as possible. And, by the way, the more you guys try to find the right play in the red zone, the less likely you are to find it, right? Just go. I'm a big proponent of the quicker you are offensively, the quicker you get up to the line and snap the ball, the more plays are going to work for you, right?
And,
Instead of like just, taking it down, looking for the exact right play and letting the defense rest and see what's going on.
When you also get okay, if you call the timeout, now Steve Wilkes and the defense can say, hey, these are the plays where you need to look for. This is what they might. Maybe they're
might have said corn dog.
Maybe they're ready for corn dog motion. Hey, if he motions and stops, we're not going to hand that off, right? You're staying with them, or we are going to hand that off, and you're on the outside. You're taking that.
So
guy.
that's Tom. That was the Tom and Jerry play, correct?
That was Tom and Jerry with corn dog motion.
Yes. Do you know what Tom and Jerry is, Josh?
Yes, of course I know what Tom and Jerry is.
Okay,
my archival knowledge of old cartoons is great. I wasn't allowed to watch things with cursing or sexual content. Violence between animals? That was no problem. That's just fine.
That's perfectly fine. So we tried to dissect this earlier, speaking of animals, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this mix. So Tom and Jerry. And then Patrick Mahomes said, well, we obviously know who's Tom and who's Jerry in this, as a quick little joke.
Wait, do we?
That's my question.
Okay.
So my question is...
He said it's originally for CEH. Didn't he say that? It was originally for Clyde?
There was a play in 2021 that was Clyde. That they called Tom and Jerry.
That
had no corn dog.
Was Clyde going to be in the Hardman role or no?
No corn dog. It was
Clyde
underhand.
got a screen underhand.
And I think Kelsey was supposed to be Tom there, but that puts this whole thing in the jeopardy.
So is Patrick Mahomes Jerry and Mecole Hardman is Tom, because Patrick Mahomes is the cunning, scheming, you can't catch him, like he's the one that always has these great plans. Is the defense Tom, and the Chiefs are Jerry, because the defense can't ever get a hold of Jerry and the Chiefs offense, because they are the ones
I don't know
that
that
are really
Hardman's
fast
part
and
of Tom or Jerry. It almost seems like that's one of the you want some sort of chasing there. Like you're almost sending two guys through that hole on the shovel pass to where like the one guy goes through and
So
he
you
blocks
think-
and the second guy takes the shovel pass.
Well, then if it's two guys chasing, then would it be Mecole Hardman and Travis Kelce over there being Tom and Jerry, messing with the defense, right? They're sort of chasing and trying to catch the other. I have no idea. We need further clarification.
Yeah, it's not obvious to me who's Tom, who's Jerry, or is the defense
That's what I'm
Tom?
saying. Is the defense Tom and the Chiefs' offense is Jerry, because the defense can't catch the offense because the offense is being so scheming and conniving.
Right.
and so
Jerry's got to be
quick.
the hero in this because he's
Absolutely.
the hero in
always
every
the hero.
cartoon.
Yeah, Tom barely ever catches them. Maybe once or twice in his entire life. And even when he caught him, Jerry still got away.
He did. He got away, and there were episodes where they befriended each other. Right? They were buddies.
Sometimes that dog is a part of the problem. Butch, I think. I think every cartoon dog was named Butch. I'm just trying to show off my Tom and Jerry bona fides.
Is it just as simple as just the fact that Travis Kelce is a large human being and then Mecole Hardman is a smaller human being? And
I think
Clyde
that's
is that
it, yeah.
smaller
Might have been
person?
it. Clyde is, maybe that's it.
Dylan, we don't get to spend 20 minutes breaking it down and you come in with 10 seconds and figure it out.
Well, Jason, when everyone's asking the questions, if they would have gone through all 4 overtime quarters, would they have cut the ring in half? And a place you're never going to have to get your ring cut in half, unless you ask really nicely, or maybe they suggest it. I don't know. I'm not the ring guy. I mean, I wear them, but I don't make them. They do make them at Ruback Fine Jewelry. And who gets the ring? It's the Kansas City Chiefs. This one is straight up, straight down, simple, because the Chiefs are going ringing again. Once you've been to Ruback one time, you're a customer for life. Check out their new location in downtown Overland Park, now open. You can call or text Hal today about scheduling your appointment at 913-649-8811 or visit their website at ruback.co.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We'll get Learn Funniest Best from the weekend that was. Maybe everybody's got the same best. I don't know. We'll find what we learned, what the funniest was, what the best was. We'll take a timeout. We are hanging out at Rally House. Our location is the Rally House in Lenexa, just off Quivira. It is Oak Park location, and they are getting you set for the parade coming up on Wednesday, getting you set with all of your Chiefs Super Bowl 58 championship gear as Chiefs Super Bowl number 3 in 5 years, winning 25-22 in overtime over the 49ers. We'll be back with more Zone right after this.
Patrick Mahomes is better than Tom Brady in every single one of those categories through their first 7 seasons. So greatest of all time while time is still going is a little bit of a fool's errand, but the greatest first 7 seasons in a quarterback's playing days is absolutely inarguable. I think they're also just starting it probably from, I don't know if they're counting that Broncos game or how they're doing it, but it leaves them both at 96 total games that they're doing these stats through.
He's also the only quarterback in, did you have this one in all the 4 major sports? With a learn by any chance?
Nope. I don't think a lot of other sports have quarterbacks.
Yeah. But no, he's the only player of all the 4 major sports to win 3 Super Bowl MVPs in his first 7 years, 3 championship MVPs in his first 7 years in that league.
He gave everybody a 1-year head start.
Yeah. Right.
Forfeited that first year.
For 7 years in your career, he's the only player to have 3 championship, whether that be series for baseball or NHL or NBA or just Super Bowl, to have 3 of those MVPs of the championship is Patrick Mahomes. Mick, what'd you learn?
Well, Josh, last night, piggybacking off your learn there, so we had a lot of drunk people on our air last night, and one guy was just struggling to get through sentences and words and everything. It wasn't making sense, and we're just like, it's kind of cringe. It was Aaron Ladd. But in the middle of his ramblings, he said, we talk about, GOAT and everything, greatest of all time, which doesn't make sense to me because not all time has passed. And he looked at the camera. I'm like, oh, my God, that guy just made sense. And then he went back to it. Like,
please clip and tweet that.
I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it.
Not all time has passed.
Might have been a time traveler.
He's 100% right. I mean,
right, not all time has passed. So it was very funny. The learn for me.
Greatest of all time so far. Goatsif.
I'm going to do some more nerdy stats here. So I learned that Patrick Mahomes trailing by a lot is a lot better than your quarterback winning by a lot, okay? So in the postseason, when trailing by 7 points or more, he is 9-2. In 11 games, he's trailed in the postseason. 11 of his 18, he's trailed by a touchdown or more. He is 9-2. That is 82% of the time he is winning. Do you know second best in that category? Who it is? First of all, who it is? Who it is easy.
I'm going to say Brady.
It's Tom Brady. You want to know his stats are when trailing by 7?
Can you tell me how many times he's
21 times. He's played a ton of playoff games, boys. Okay, it's going to take Mahomes a while to get to his touchdown numbers and his games and all that stuff.
I'll go 10 and 11.
10 and 11 is correct. He is under 500.
No way.
Wow. He is under 500. He's like 47%. First place is 82%. Second place is under 500. In that category, and he's the GOAT, right? He's the greatest that you're chasing, and that's where we're at right now with Patrick Mahomes.
I thought you were going with the 5-1 when trailing by 10 or more points in the playoffs since 2019. The rest of the NFL is 6-48.
That's even better.
No, I love yours, man. That's amazing. What did you learn, Dylan?
So I actually learned that the Chiefs are interested in psychological warfare. Do you remember Dom DeSandro, the Eagles security guy that was banned from NFL sidelines during the 49ers game? He was on the Chiefs sideline last night with Jeffrey Lurie, and I think that was definitely planned. I think that Andy is actually – there's a lot of pictures of him and Dom in his last couple years in Philly, so they're good friends as well.
And so, wait, was that game against the Niners?
Yes.
The Eagles game?
Correct.
Oh, wow. When he got kicked out?
Yep.
My nephew said that Dom was on the. I didn't see him at all. But yeah, that's the second time I've heard somebody talk about Dom being there on the sideline. That is great psychological warfare. That is awesome. You should have had Dom walk him out to shake hands with Shanahan.
Absolutely. I think you
at least go out with Mahomes for the coin toss
on the podium for the trophy. Everything.
Yeah. By the way, as an aside, Andy Reid no interviews until he got to the podium. Because the cameras kept trying to stop him, and the PR people were like, no, podium. He's going straight to the podium right now. So then they went to Mahomes and other players, but Andy Reid was like, no. They had like security around him, like he was Taylor Swift trying to get him to the podium. We'll start with you on funniest. Josh, what was the funniest from the weekend?
It's just the Chiefs Mad Libs game, man. Taylor Swift, Ice Spice, and Blake Lively walk into a suite. It's the beginning of a joke. It's like, yeah, okay, so then what happened? Well, they got in there, and they had a nice conversation with Jason Kelce and Paul McCartney, a real thing that happened, and Lana Del Rey's there for some reason. She's just also there. It's
Miles Teller, too, right?
Miles Teller is there. I mean,
Brewster was there. I mean,
you genuinely have to differentiate now between the regular superstars at Chiefs games and the new fun ones who are there for the Super Bowl. It's really, really hilarious and just never something I never really believed that Kansas City would suddenly develop perhaps the most famous fan base, and it happened overnight.
They're almost like Lakers games now.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
100%. All right, Mick, your funniest.
Funniest I just thought of, but I'll have two here. Did you see Jeff Goldblum when he was put on camera last night?
Yeah.
It was DiCaprio first, and he just kind of hid under his hat. Then Jeff Goldblum just made a heart signal with his hands and started dancing. It was very funny. My funniest, the commercials, the ones off the top of my head, I haven't gone back and tried to recall all of them, but I liked the Dunkin' Donuts one with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and some other Tom Brady. Talking with Walken, I don't know what they were advertising there, but that was funny when people were talking to Christopher Walken, doing impressions of Christopher Walken. That was funny. And then the worth remembering one with the Uber Eats where Rachel didn't remember Ross.
Yeah, it was funny.
Was it Jelly Roll didn't know how to go?
Somebody threw my face. It's not coming off.
That was funny. So it was good for once to be in town and actually watch the commercials as they happened and the game as it happened and all that.
I loved Heidi Gardner having a whole entire campaign with Homes.com. Not Mahomes.com, but just Homes.com. But I haven't seen many people talk about one of my favorite commercials was the E-Trade pickleball with the little kids.
See, I feel like they were trying to reinvent their ads from years ago, right? The babies talking. Wasn't that E-Trade back in the day?
I liked it, though, just because of the smack talk and everything. I'm like, but I was throwing that in there, not as my favorite, but just I haven't seen people mention it. But the Uber Eats for getting something and the Dunkin' Donuts, because there were cameos that mattered.
Yeah.
It wasn't just somebody showing up on the screen and waving. The cameos added to it. And made it more entertaining. Dylan, what was the funniest for you?
The funniest for me, the Orlando Magic. Last year they tweeted, "Congrats, Patrick," with a picture of the Sky Sports broadcaster tracking down Paulo Banchero, thinking he's Patrick Mahomes, and then they just quote tweeted it again, back to back. "Congrats, Patrick," with another picture, recalling the Sky Sports interview guy trying to track down Paulo and yelling, "Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes." So, hilarious.
My funniest, boy, I've got a few now since I've got some left over, which is good. So let's play the. It's always funny. It's always entertaining and a reason to play it. Do you have the championship or the winning play to McCole Hardman, the touchdown that was the play-by-play in Korea? If we have that call, if we could, because
we do.
I believe the Korean play-by-play announcers were in my basement. I'm pretty sure. Happen if you take a listen to this is how it sounded on the Korean play-by-play of the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. It's my basement. So that's what we were doing in the basement.
Speaking Korean?
That's right. I didn't say Mahomesa. That was the only difference.
Are there fireworks sound effects in the broadcast? Amazing.
They were in my basement. Just Patrick, which is amazing. This is more of a visual thing, but it's still funny. If you can picture Ice Spice and the back of her head looks like
I learned who Ice Spice was.
Oh, very good. See, that could have been your learning.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Has the sort of red curly hair, right? And it's a picture of Jason Kelsey reaching down to shake her hand, and this tweet says, "I hope to also have a drink named after me one day. Miss Shirley Temple, is it?" Which was good. And then it was also kind of funny. Brittany Mahomes going, "Sorry, Jackson, I can't help you." There's nothing I can do. I mean,
there was an edit there. I'm wondering if
I am too. I am curious.
Probably an edit.
Yeah.
I don't think
they
this
are
is
like
edited.
they are best friends. They showed up to the game together.
How about this as a photo that I hadn't seen yet? Travis Kelsey, Andy Reid, Ludacris, and Mark Donovan holding up threes.
The gang's back together.
Yeah, it's this coming soon to an insane movie near you. Travis Kelsey, Andy Reid, Ludacris, and Mark Donovan go about the town flashing threes.
True Detective Season 6.
Yes.
Andy Reid and Ludacris. There we go. All right, we go to best. We start with you, Mick. Best of the
best was Mahomes' pose after the game, the slide, almost the soccer slide. And then in all of his greatness, it was almost like that moment was almost too much for even him to comprehend. for even him to comprehend that had happened to him. Because with another Super Bowl, he was going to take a step, right, winning it. He took an even bigger step than I thought was possible, right, to have a walk-off touchdown pass in the Super Bowl, and it seemed like the moment finally hit him. And that's good because it's hitting all the Chiefs fans every single Sunday they watch him play, and for him to have that moment is really cool.
Do you see the Art But Make It Sports?
I just showed you that, so yeah, I did. Yeah. It was great. Which one is it? What's the painting? Like, I'll know, but I want to know what the name of it.
Siesta by Frank Duveneck, 1887. Kyle Rivas.
But they got the grass and everything, too. Perfect.
It's just amazing. It's so perfect. Art But Make It Sports. Did you see the Taylor Swift chugging a beer, Art But Make It Sports?
I didn't, but now I see
wine glass by Johannes Vermeer.
Truly incredible.
Taylor Swift chugging it.
That's really good.
All right, best for you, Dylan.
Best for me, did anyone see the Nickelodeon broadcast lower third for Travis Kelce that's titled Taylor Swift's Boyfriend Good at Football? That's it. So
you know what?
all the pictures from Nickelodeon post-game are just priceless every single time.
Best for me, sappy, unoriginal, but watching the Super Bowl with my family was awesome. Yet again, watching another Super Bowl victory. Best for you, Josh?
We got a little work party going on at 810 last night. So Renee came in for it. We had Covell and Germ, and then Dylan and all of us hanging out and getting to try to work a little bit and enjoy it a little bit. That was a good mushy time for me too.
There you go. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and we will wrap things up here on a victory Super Bowl winning Monday of the Zone, hanging out at Rally House in Lenexa. More Zone next. Throughout the days, in all the locations, we will be at the Rally House Power and Light District tomorrow for another edition of The Zone. So how about that? That'll be fun. Yes. Thank you, Mick Schaefer, for stopping by, coming all the way out here. Thank you. From Vegas.
Right. I got here quick.
Yes.
I could.
You got a lot of sleep.
I had my own
last night?
PJ. Yeah.
There you go. Josh, thank you for waking up after your nap.
My only regret is even daring to sleep. I don't think I needed that 90 minutes of energy. I got 4 more hours in.
He's out, everybody. We're going to have to carry him to the car. Mick, you're going to have to. Bye, everybody. Program's next.